The tape, let's grind. Shut up. The tape. Let's grind. The tape. We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunkered down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Film guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Monday evening, brought to you by our friends over at BetUS. I think it's over here. Welcome in. We got a great one for you guys tonight. We're going to give you our Week 10 reactions. I guess we're giving flowers out today against our own will. So we'll be doing that. We're also, as you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to preview tomorrow's college football rankings. We are froze, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We're probably still hot, so don't say anything into those microphones.
Never would.
Okay?
Let's see if I can fix this.
What if I say, nah, I'm just kidding.
This happened to me a couple streams ago. I had to exit OBS, come back, and hit manage broadcast, and then jump back into it. If that makes sense.
Oh, we are here now.
We're here now?
Yeah, looks like we're moving on the screen now.
All right.
Here, wait, I'll
Let's
watch.
wait for the live stream to pop back up. All right. The live stream has gone rainbow colored.
Yeah.
And then came back. And I think we're good. We are officially live. All right. Should we start over?
Yeah, I think we
All right,
should.
let's do this over. I think I was giving the rundown. We got Week 10 reactions. All right, we're going to predict the college football playoff rankings that are going to happen tomorrow night. We have our first unveiling of the top 12. We're going to go through ours tonight and kind of show you what we think is going to happen and what, or for lack of a better term, what we think should happen this week. And we're going to debut a new Film Guy Network camera angle. So that's going to be interesting as well. But here, I want to start with this today. And this is an opening that I'm going to call Brooks stumbles upon to a take. every once in a while, I go to write these opening boys, and they're very open-ended. I don't know what conclusion I'm ultimately going to come to. And eventually, about halfway through, maybe 3/4 of the way through, a light bulb hits me, and I have this epiphany of realization of a take. So you're going to notice the moment that happens. But here we go. It's closing season, ladies and gentlemen. We have a month left of the college football season, and all of our answers and potential unknowns that we have at this point to date in the college football season, those will be put to rest over the next 4 weeks, particularly in the SEC. The SEC doesn't have a single unbeaten in conference play at this point in the season, and we have massive matchups still yet to be played. Bama and LSU face off this weekend. Georgia and Ole Miss obviously play this weekend. Tennessee and Georgia play the next weekend, and we close SEC play with Texas and Texas A&M. Not to mention, at this point in the season, just surviving the week-to-week schedule and wars that are in the SEC doesn't seem to be a given. Even when you're a 14, 16, 17-point favorite, there have been sudden wars break out in this conference, even for the college football playoff contenders. We've seen at this point in the year in the SEC, the week-to-week grind seems to be that much harder than it ever has been before. The delta and the difference of talent levels between these teams isn't as vast as it's been in years prior. Move on to the Big Ten. There's not as much, drama and anticipation left for the Big Ten. There are 4 football teams at the top of that conference without a doubt. It's Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana. In whatever order you want to have them, Oregon's sitting at the top of that, right? And those are the best 4 teams, and luckily they all play Ohio State, so there's going to be some, figuring out of sorts with this schedule. However, none of these teams play one another. They all play Ohio State. All right, so we're going to have some undefeateds, it appears, in the Big Ten. It's just a matter of who's it going to be between Indiana and Ohio State November 23rd. So the Big Ten seems relatively clear. At least there is a pathway for it to be relatively clear as the season ends with that one. The second spot in the ACC seems to have been spoken for this weekend as SMU throttles Pittsburgh. Their remaining schedule is Boston College, Virginia, and Cal. You would imagine they're going to handle their business based off the way that they've been playing to this point in the season. Miami has handled their business, and all they've got left is a game at Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse. Safe to say, barring Miami laying an egg, they've handled their business. So the ACC seems to be pretty clear. The Big 12, again, seems to be a race for number 2. Who's going to be the team to play BYU in the Big 12 championship game? Iowa State is 4-1.
It's doing it again.
Close OBS and do it the way I said.
Okay. What'd you say to do?
Literally close the, what is that? It didn't do that to me last time. We're not on frozen now?
I don't know what it's doing.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop switching camera angles as much as we normally do.
Word.
Okay? So change on the fly. Only switch between 2 and 4. Okay?
All right.
Let's see if that settles the street, man. I don't know what's going on, guys. I don't even know where we're at. Big 12 seems to be a race to playing BYU. I felt like I was on a roll. It is what it is. Deal with the adaptations that are going on. A race to see who gets to play BYU in the Big 12 championship game right now, it appears, out there. Iowa State's 4-1, as is Colorado right now in the conference. Iowa State has at Kansas, Cincy, at Utah, K-State. Colorado has at Texas Tech, Utah, at Kansas, and Oklahoma State. So 2 common opponents between those 2 football teams, and Iowa State plays K-State at the end of the year. The Big 12, still an opportunity for some chaos, but at least there's some supremacy in that conference at this point in the season. And here's why I kind of stumbled upon my take for the day. Sometimes, like I said, I write these scenarios out, and then boom, the take arises, and here's the take. The SEC is likely to eat itself alive at this point. Georgia still has to get through Ole Miss and Tennessee. Texas already talked about it. They got Texas A&M left on the schedule. And by the way, Florida doesn't seem to be an easy out at this point. I know their quarterback's hurt. Doesn't seem to be 100% an easy out on both sides of the football, nor does Arkansas. I know they just laid an egg to Ole Miss, but you don't know what you're going to get, nor does Kentucky. You might get the good version of Kentucky at this point in the season, all right? Vandy, I can't believe I'm writing this, but this is where we're at in the SEC at this point. Vandy lurking, Vandy lurking for several college football playoff teams, most notably Tennessee and LSU, still trying to fight their way in and win their way out. We'll talk about Tennessee in a second. Ole Miss already caught up in the conference rigmarole. They've already taken a loss that they didn't necessarily plan for or afforded themselves going into the season with that loss to Kentucky. And, of course, the overtime loss to LSU. That's a tough L, but it is what it is. You kind of expect those in the SEC slate. You don't expect the loss to Kentucky in 2024. The sudden happenstances appeared that you might need to be looking out for one of those. Honestly, as I wrote this out, guys, the easiest way to a college football playoff route right now for an SEC team rests in Knoxville, Tennessee, with the Tennessee Volunteers, because they've gotten to this point in their schedule with UGA, UTEP, and Vandy left on it, affording themselves at least one loss. That's the only easy route. Everybody else got a lot of work left on the plate for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a favorable circumstance for them where it's kind of, hey, even if we lose to Georgia, we're still sitting very pretty simply because we don't really have to worry about making the conference. And this is why I said a couple weeks ago where it's not necessarily end of the world if you don't make an SEC championship, just because a team like Tennessee is going to be sitting at home pretty much guaranteed a playoff spot by the time conference championship weeks roll around. So Tennessee absolutely has a favorable position for them, but Vanderbilt could get you.
Yeah, that sneaky Vanderbilt at home in 2024.
Yeah, but I also think that this is why tomorrow's rankings are going to be such a massive thing, especially if you are Tennessee, because depending on where they put you in these rankings, that could also determine whether or not you as a 10-2 team at the end of the year, if you do drop the game to Georgia or if you drop the game to Vanderbilt, one of the two, I think that'll kind of set the tone of whether or not the committee will view you as a playoff team if you are a 10-2 team by the end of this. So I think that best case scenario was for this week in Tennessee that 5 ranked teams, I believe, lost. A good chunk of them.
7.
Yeah. So a good number of those teams were kind of knocked back while you took another win. You still remain in the top 10. So they're certainly sitting in a good spot. But as I've always said, you don't want to be sitting in December with your fate in the hands of the committee. You would rather that puppy be locked down and you don't have to worry about a thing.
I mean, there's also a world where Ole Miss beats Georgia, now 10-2. All right, Georgia would be. All right, they go on and win out, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee loses to Georgia. They're 10-2. Ole Miss beat Georgia. They're 10-2. Texas A&M beats Texas. Both Texas and Texas A&M are 10-2. LSU or Alabama win out. One of those two teams is 10-2. Now you get into a situation in the college football playoff room where it's like, hey, which of these SEC 10-2 teams gets the 4th SEC spot? And do we think about maybe going to 5? Like, I think you're right in the sense that things could get really, really hairy. If you're Greg Sankey, are you hoping for clarity? Are you hoping that some of this stuff figures itself out so you don't have to go out and campaign for one of your SEC programs to get in?
No, because if it doesn't happen, then you can say this is why we need 14 teams and this is why we need auto bids for my conference.
Or this is why, big FU, I'm going super conference by myself. Come on, Big Ten, we got screwed.
I think that the best path for the SEC, if you want the most teams in, is where you have a clear cut, like conference championship week, both your team that's in there and both the team that is, like the winning team is going to be in, the losing team, they're in regardless of a win or a loss. And then you have a 10-2 team where it's really hard to keep them out. In this case, it could be Tennessee or it could be LSU, could be Alabama. And so then you also have a 4th team behind them, or that would give you 4 teams at that point.
It is our college football playoff rankings show, and we will get to that in a minute. I want to welcome you guys in. We got Week 10 reactions. I guess we're going to give flowers today, and we are going to be predicting, as I mentioned, the college football playoff prediction for tomorrow. And before we get into that, I do want to say this. Tomorrow's rankings are very important. No matter what people are going to tell you, it doesn't matter, all this stuff will get itself sorted out. No, it does matter. It 100% matters, because everything that they say this week will ultimately either hold their feet to the fire of consistency, or we will know where they are lying to us week in and week out. We will know what they do and don't care about week in and week out. And you'll know what we care about with regards to the college football playoff rankings tonight and on this episode just shortly after this next segment. I want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS is the only place to be. Head over to BetUS using the link in the description of this video, and what you will find over there is 150% deposit match up to $2,000 on your first deposit and 125% deposit match on your next 2 deposits only using promo code YouTube150. Again, that's YouTube150 over there on BetUS. Boys, we took an L this weekend. We're down to 11-6 on the locks. I should have stayed the hell away from Texas A&M and South Carolina this weekend. The line was fishy as hell. You took an L on this one. Big unit play for you, right? We were about to cash out on BetUS. That's unfortunate, at least for you. Fortunate for our friends over at BetUS. Go support those who are supporting us on this network over there on BetUS. Again, that's promo code YouTube150. Boys, let's get into these Week 10 reactions before we get into this college football playoff rankings prediction. What do you want to start with? Do we want to start with Oregon handling business?
Yeah, they're the clear-cut number 1 team. We talked about how a couple weeks ago, it's like we're not sure anyone's really great right now. We weren't sure about Oregon at first, but what they've put on in the last 4 or 5 weeks has been...
put on...
Was that a Jeezy?
Yeah, sorry, it's just random. You know, you throw a put on, and I gotta break out into it. ADD. Go ahead.
That's fair. But no, Oregon. I thought that Michigan could potentially show danger for them. It is a big. I know Michigan's not what we thought it was, but it's a Big Ten environment. They have to travel. They hadn't really played anyone on the road up until then, but again, they passed it with flying colors. So, Oregon, in my opinion, I think everyone would agree is a clear-cut number 1 team.
Yeah, Michigan sustained 2 real drives in this entire football game. I counted 8 true possessions. And what do I call true possessions? You don't, get the ball with 30 seconds left before the half and knee the ball out. That doesn't count. Your last possession of the football game doesn't count. And what was the other one? Oh, a short field. You get the ball inside the 10 and settle for a field goal. I'm not counting that true possession. So of the 8 true possessions, guys, they 3-and-outed 4 of those 8 times, and they had a 5-play punt on the 5th. That's it. They had an 11-play drive that went on downs. This is classic Michigan offense, but this is Oregon domination on the defensive side of the football. I know Michigan is abhorrent on the offensive side. I know that. But they get afforded 3 points due to a short field on a muffed punt. Outside of that, there were, like I said, 2 real possessions for them. They were completely stagnant the rest of the football game. Oregon just destroyed them defensively. And that's what, for me, I trust Oregon's offense. I trust Dylan Gabriel in big football games. I trust them to be explosive. I know Tej Johnson's hurt. That's not great for them moving forward, but they're really explosive offensively. The question for me is, can they be an elite defense when they need to be? And they're showing that capability.
They're like the only consistent team in college football right now.
Correct.
The only consistent team. I mean, and that's funny because at the beginning of the year it was, is Oregon ever going to be consistent? Because they were one of the teams to start out the year, very up and down, had some close calls with some teams that they shouldn't have, but they've turned it on. They're playing their best football. They're peaking at the right moments, and they're looking like the clear-cut number 1 because nobody else is being as consistent as Oregon right now.
I would say, yeah, they've been consistent, but they've also consistently improved week to week. I feel like. I feel like they're consistently getting better. The one area of concern that I had offensively was red zone turnovers and just turnovers in general. They've played pretty clean over the last several weeks of football. Now I know the quality of opponent's not great, and guess what? It's not getting any better.
Nope.
They're on the back side of the mountain. They got Maryland, Wisconsin, a bye week, Washington. Like they're on the back side of their schedule, and they're going to continue to handle business, it looks like. But you're right, man. They are the clear-cut, most consistent, guaranteed winner right now in college football. So Dan Lanning, I mean, he's built a monster. By the way, Michigan currently 5-4 at Indiana, Northwestern, at Ohio State to close the season.
No guaranteed dub right there.
No guaranteed dub for them. Is there a possibility they are not in a bowl game this year thanks to the Northwestern Wildcats?
Yes.
They're lucky they don't have to play that in the soccer stadium on the river. They're just lucky they get that one at the big house because the Wildcats would have taken them down. Ohio State, annual boa constrictoring of Penn State. What were you guys' thoughts on this? Because I gave plenty yesterday.
I said coming into this game that it's the same story we've heard time and time again, where there's a couple times where Ohio State throughout the season looks gettable, and Penn State, this is the year they're going to do it, and they just never do, and nothing was different. They had opportunities to do it. They had 2 red zone possessions and just squandered them away. So it's one of those things where, again, we talked about this. Until Penn State can show they beat Ohio State, I'm not going to buy it. So.
What the hell is going on?
It might have been because we upped the resolution. It's the only thing I could think of.
Have we done a live stream since we've upped that resolution?
We did, but
it was Thursday single camera, wasn't it?
Well, and then the Wednesday show, I believe. I don't know. I will try and do what I did last time. That seemed to work.
I'm sorry, guys.
Good news is audio. The podcast
Yeah, no, the
listeners aren't-
podcast listeners are like, I don't know why those
Why does it
video
keep
folks
talking?
are complaining. Like, everything's clean
It's
on
doing
my
the
end.
same thing that Streamlabs did when we started having issues. And then it'll go back.
Are we back?
Yeah, we've been back for a little bit now.
If it happens again, I don't know what to tell you, but we're probably going to call it a day. Or at least close. It happened to me by myself one day. I closed OBS, opened it back up. Like I said, went to manage broadcast, and it was still available to hop in. So we'll have to figure that out.
Ohio State. Until Penn State can show they can beat them, I'm not buying it. No matter
Yeah,
how good Penn
but-
State is, I don't care if you're at home. I don't care if it's on the road. I'm not buying it, Penn State. I'm sorry.
I think it's too like what really showed for Ohio State in that football game is the players that you invested in this offseason were the ones that really showed up and they kind of sealed the football game for you. Penn State has the ball in the red zone. They're knocking on the door, 4th down. Drew Aller throws the ball in the end zone. Caleb Downs breaks it up. Ohio State gets the ball back, and to seal the game, it's Will Howard using his legs, picks up a couple first downs, and Ohio State keeps pushing forward with a dub.
Yeah, honestly, that was my primary takeaway is the fact that, look, I'm still deep within the trenches of the anti-Will Howard deep state. I am the king and the CEO of that regime. I understand that. However, every time they need a play, it's like, all right, we'll just run Will and we'll just figure it out, and we'll just high school football this thing, and we'll manage to use Will Howard's legs to get us there. Also, very clearly looks to be the emotional and vocal leader of that offense on that side of the ball. And if you listen to anybody in the Ohio State circles right now, that's what they're preaching is the level of buy-in that this guy has already created through 8 or 9 games. And then on the other side of the football, the best player in that football game for 2 quarters to close out was Caleb Downs. He made the most pivotal plays to get Penn State up off of the field in the last 3 possessions of that game. There's a 3rd and 9 where he makes an insane play on their tight end. And then obviously you noted the goal line stand. Like, their money that they have spent is very valuable, and it is paying dividends for them. And we've seen this. Guys, when you go buy, and we talk about groceries on this network, when you go buy bad groceries nowadays in college football, it impacts your wins and losses more than it ever has before, because you're buying guys that you need to play now. So if they're bad, then you're bad. And the 2 highest value purchases of Ohio State's roster this offseason were Will Howard and Caleb Downs. And they've been their 2 most important football players all year long when they need them. Now, to a fault in that Oregon game to an extent, and everybody made fun of Will Howard for it. But this is their guy, and they're riding him into the ground like you're talking about. They're riding their horses that brought them to it, right? And they're riding them long and hard. Hey, yo. But they bought groceries, and not only that, they bought good groceries, and what I'm adding to the equation here, they kept the leftovers fresh. They kept the leftovers fresh. What am I talking about? Tia Maluau, the edge rusher, great college football player, needed him back. They brought him back. I guarantee you it wasn't cheap. Jack Sawyer, great college football player. Don't know what it's going to look like on Sundays. Needed him back. Got him back. Denzel Burke, great college football player. Don't know what it's going to look like on Sundays. Needed him back. Got him back. Quinshon Judkins, obviously. Travion Henderson, obviously. All right. Emeka Ibuka, obviously. All right, most of the guys that were impact players on their roster last year that they had to keep, they ponied up for. And that's an important aspect of today's roster acquisition strategies.
Yeah, you got to hit on the ones that you're going to spend the big bucks on. And they certainly have. Even if Will Howard is not being this Heisman finalist, hopeful that many thought maybe he would be in Ohio State offense, that way he would be featured in. But he is certainly playing good football. And the same thing for Caleb Downs. They're both impacting this roster. They're impacting football games.
Yeah, I mean, the transfer portal is a slippery slope where if you completely rely on it, we've seen that it doesn't necessarily go well long term. But if you can consistently get guys you need out of it and consistently hit on them, it doesn't matter how much you spend. It's completely worth it. So Ohio State's looking good right now.
All right, apparently we need to update our graphic drivers. That's what Google says. We good on the Ohio State?
Yes, sir.
Let's move on to Miami. I think they play with their food. That was my note. They're out here playing with their food. Now you put a big FU to Miami in the notes, so we'll
I'm just
concede
so
the floor to
tired
you.
of them watching them win games. They don't deserve to win these games. And then Cam Ward puts a damn Superman cape on and carries that team to a victory.
Slick kind of a wizard, man.
It's frustrating. And honestly, like, Cam Ward himself has grown on me, but that Miami team still does not deserve it.
Grown on me quite a bit. Here are my notes. I went and watched the game today on film. Cam Ward is a wizard. First touchdown, goofy as can be. Absolutely filthy. Spins around in the pocket, rolls back right, throws back down to the bottom of the end zone. He's got two guys there. They only got one defender. Absolutely goofy. Every throw is must watch at this point was my next note. Every throw is must watch. I don't think I've seen a quarterback play this free in a long time was the first note. And then it says ... after about 10 more minutes of watching film. I just put ever. I don't know of a quarterback that's ever played this calm. And this almost lackadaisical.
Yes, almost doesn't like
lackadaisical. It's like he does. It's like it's not hard for him. It's like things are slowing for him. Even his interceptions, it's like, all right, you got a little bit too much dip on your chip. Like you don't need to be doing that. But it's not like he's not seeing it. It's not like he's throwing balls where it's like, oh, you didn't see that underneath the defender. No. This man is clicking through his reads as calm as humanly possible can be. Apart from one football team, Virginia Tech, no one's been able to speed him up, though. And I think that's what's going to cause this. And look, he's got a tremendous run game. I think that's the one thing people don't talk about with Miami right now. They can really, really run the football with Mark Fletcher and Martinez that they brought over from Oregon State. And they have a really good offensive line. I'm not saying it's great, but it's really good in terms of being able to pick up pass protections and get everything cleaned up enough to where it's just one free hitter or one guy leaking late into pass protection. They don't have consistent breakdowns in pass protection like I see most college football teams have. I would imagine most of that is because they are so well balanced in terms of explosive rates in the pass and the run game. So there's that. They can run the ball, they can block, they can get open. Period. Like that's what it boils down to. They can run the ball, they can block, and they can get open. And they've got right now the most confident and best playing quarterback in college football, so much so that we may just have to do a study on him.
Does the fact that
I thought you were going to perk up on that one.
I'm quietly waiting now.
You're probably just waiting around for our college football playoff rankings that are coming up.
Yes.
Shortly.
Coming right up. I'm just quietly waiting on the downfall of Miami now.
Yeah, you're not quietly waiting. I don't think you're waiting. I think you're rooting for it.
Yes, I'm praying on their downfall very quietly. But Cam Ward deserves all the praise because he's been playing out of his mind the last 3 weeks.
I would have been all on board giving Miami their flowers. And I was watching that game towards the tail end of it. I was getting ready to prepare my thoughts of describing of Miami. Their offense is good enough to do this, and until their offense can lays a complete egg, I will become someone who does not believe in this football team. But then up 53 to whatever, game out of hand, like around 2 minutes to go in the game. 53-38 on the goal line. You want to throw a pass to try and put up 60 on this team when the game's already in hand, and you get a strip sack. And I thought that was very poetic.
And he got an ass chewing, huh?
And he did, yeah. And supposedly I heard that he checked out of a run play to go to a pass, so I kind of thought that was poetic. I didn't really care for it. I was glad it ended in a strip sack. But no, in all seriousness, this offense is humming.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear to beat Miami this year, you're going to have to outscore them and get turnovers, which is possible.
Or honestly force Cam Ward to look bad.
Well, that would be the turnovers part.
Well, yeah, but you don't have to outscore him if that's the case.
Yeah. But has he looked bad?
He didn't look good against Virginia Tech. And there are moments where he looks bad. But
I thought in my opinion, most of that was due to pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, when you're this lackadaisical, I don't think you're ever going to look like you respond to pressure well. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many quarterbacks do respond to pressure well, to be honest with you, apart from maybe like Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, for very different reasons. All right, let's move on. Texas A&M, man. That is,
who could have seen that one coming?
I wish I would have brought this one. Are you taking a victory lap?
Nah.
Congrats.
24-hour rule.
Man picked the right lotto card on South Carolina this weekend, which is what it feels like at this point with this football team.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what it drew memories for me of? It reminded me a lot of that 2022 Tennessee football game where even before Hendon Hooker got hurt, it was so clear to me that South Carolina might score 75 that day. And this was one of those football games
They're
where it was
good.
like, damn, they might score a lot today.
They're good for one of these games every other year, it seems like, where it's like, oh, this is a middling offense, and then out of nowhere, it's, where the hell did this come from? And it goes, I mean, that was a turning point in 2022 for them. They had a great season to close out the year after they beat Clemson, almost beat Notre Dame in a bowl game, I believe. So, I mean, that's honestly, they might be turning the corner here, but no. It was very clear to me that Texas A&M, and again, was in a spot where they weren't used to being in. They kind of reached a pinnacle that they have never reached before. I think that's their first time being 8-0, and they got caught slipping.
I want to give this take because, you know, we get after coaches, I feel like, a lot more than people who are trying to do this national thing. Like most people who are trying to grow nationally are just let's do everything we can to make sure no one ever stumbles upon us and doesn't like what we say about their team, which is a great strategy. And I think it's part of the reason why we're a slow build and not like an immediately throw like gasoline on the fire. It's going to take a while for us to go because we're willing to say things. So we've said things about Beamer. We've made fun about the feet for free. We've done all that. We've made fun of me for saying that I'd play for the guy. But let's be honest. I think this year we have seen a tremendous amount of maturity and growth from this football coach. Mm-hmm. And there's multiple examples of it. But I think the most poignant example of that was when he got beat by Ole Miss. And Ole Miss has all of these litanies of disgusting displays of fake injuries. So much so that Greg Sankey's like, you know what, $300K. And we might just suspend your ass for a football game if you're out here doing this anymore. So much so it was that gross. And when Shane Beamer gets asked about it after the game, last year, the years before that, every single time that guy takes that opportunity to go viral on social media and everybody make fun of him for complaining after a loss. And that's the way it would have gone. He would have said something that it's just disgusting and he would have been absolutely torn up about it and he would have blamed the loss on that and he would have said, oh, it killed our momentum and it was the reason we lost. And instead, he took the time out to take about 30 seconds and do the coach speak of, I hope those guys are okay, and everybody does this, and this, and then got to his point about complaining about it. And that point, and we came to the show, and we talked about the maturity and the growth that it had at that point. And it's been multiple areas of that in terms of growth throughout the year. I think this is a coach that is going through a maturation process, and a coach that we probably should have afforded the opportunity for this to happen, considering he's not only had no head coaching experience, he had no coordinating experience prior to this, apart from being a special teams coordinator. Mm-hmm. And he only had that for a brief stint. It wasn't like he had a long history of this. The history of, I know what to do in terms of being a head coach in moments that arise in my limelight or in my timeline as a head coach. All of that experience and work experience came directly from how did my dad handle this, right? That's the only up-close personal experience that he had with head coaching prior to this stint at South Carolina. And I think, guys, we're seeing obvious signs of growth. At least I am.
Well, I think I kind of got onto this, I think it was last week maybe, but I formed it in the phrase of eventually South Carolina just has to do it. They got to jump the gun because Shane Beamer's tenure at South Carolina has been exactly what this season has been of, oh, you go and play Alabama really close, and you beat Texas A&M, but you also only put up 3 points against Ole Miss. You completely lay an egg there. Oh, you have an early season scare against Old Dominion. Like a lot of ups and downs, and so I think that this season has been reflective of that. So it's like, and this is the whole thing with me and Shane Beamer is that I don't ever know what my opinion needs to be because every other week it changes, or it feels like it needs to change because it's so drastic. Because when you do only put up 3 points against Ole Miss, and it seemed like it was a great opportunity for you to go and steal one against the Rebels, then I'm like, okay, well, this clearly isn't working out, or it feels like this is not, like, this situation just isn't going to play out the way that you hope it would. But then you also go and just absolutely drub up Texas A&M. It's like, holy cow, he can do this. He's proving he can do this, and you've done that multiple times this year. So it's so polarizing. Like, I feel like I want to jump on this bandwagon with Shane Beamer and say, I think it is going to work. But then other weeks, I just don't know. It looks so lost.
But wouldn't you argue that that's probably one of the best experiences you can have and expectations-wise at South Carolina? And I'm not trying to say that,
I was about to steer the conversation into what is the bar.
Right. But I mean, like,
that's the other thing I never know.
Standard?
Yeah.
If you could guarantee a South Carolina fan, a South Carolina booster, someone who's followed the team for years now, of everything they've been through the last 10 years where they've been a middling team, saw the Steve Spurrier highs of the program. If you could say, hey, you're going to be a program that's going to, A, be fun to watch, B, is going to have a fiery coach that is always going to give you something to talk about at least, and C, you're going to be good enough to beat anyone, but you're also going to be inconsistent and bad enough to lose to anyone. I would be okay with that if I were a South Carolina fan. And I'm not trying to say, hey, you shouldn't have high expectations. I mean, Shane Beamer said at the start of this year in SEC Media Days that being in the playoff is one of their expectations. So he obviously has high expectations, but if the South Carolina program is just what you see right now, is that okay? I mean, you're in dogfights with Alabama and Old Dominion. You're going to beat the shit out of a top 10 team and then maybe put up 3 points against Ole Miss. Like,
I think the bar should be consistently fighting for anywhere between 7-5, 8-4, and then every 3 years timing up your roster to be 10-2. In my opinion.
I think I discovered what Shane Beamer is. Shane Beamer is the Eli Drinkowitz of Gus Malzahn's. Eli Drinkowitz, gonna have some weird moments in his career. Gonna say some things that's like, ooh, don't really care for that one. The Gus Malzahn play, hey, he might have a stinker, and it might look really bad, but you know what? He's going to bounce back and give you one of these.
Fuck around, beat Bama 6-5.
Yeah, he's going to give you one of these. But you know what? Every other year, every other game, it might look like this needs to be the end, get him gone. I want someone new in here. He's the Eli Drinkowitz of Gus Malzahn's.
This is a take.
that's a very interesting take.
It's also a very interesting combination of football coaches. I don't think you sign up for that.
The one take I've seen that's similar to that is that Ryan Day is the Michael Jordan of James Franklin's. Which is pretty funny.
Who's that make James Franklin? Hakeem Olajuwon? No. Or
Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
No.
Look
Clyde
at you with some hoops knowledge.
No, Clyde Drexler.
I'm a little impressed right now.
Wasn't Drexler like a very similar version of player as MJ, just wasn't as good and got overshadowed due to his career because of it, MJ?
Very flashy player, very fun player to watch. Clyde the Glide. But
got a super sub.
Yeah, I see that, and I'm hesitant to read it because you guys know how I am. I love that y'all love this network, but I love on this network without shitting on others, but I'm going to read it anyways because you paid me to read it. That's a bad stance to start. Here to rant, sorry to skip ahead, but I'm here to promote you tagging you on these trash analyst YouTube channels that don't watch film, talking about Carson Beck and UJ specifically, one sponsored by Academy. Yeah, so here's the thing. I love that you guys love this network. I love that you prefer this network over others. What I don't love is that we go about promoting this one by tearing down others. Let's not do that. All right, so that's what I'll say there. But yeah, I love that y'all love this network. I also love that I thought I said it best, and I probably can't even repeat how I did my opening. But this channel is about explanations. Like when you want to know why something's going wrong, instead of just assuming what's going wrong, you get to come here and find out what is actually going wrong. I think that is the value of this place. So I'll just leave it at that. Appreciate the super chat from my man. Are we good? Where are we at? We're on Texas A&M. That defense for South Carolina.
Well, it was so like watching the game the way that we did, driving home from Jacksonville in the truck.
In a quad box.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah, in a quad box. So can't even on an iPhone too, not even on a computer. I'm sitting on the computer doing work, just kind of checking in and out of the football game. And then you're telling me, oh, Texas A&M got the ball. I'm like, okay, Texas A&M got a chance. Next thing I hear, Raheem Sanders all the way to the door for a touchdown. And I'm like, what? That was the definition of that game of Texas A&M. You get the ball back. Oh, psych. South Carolina has it back 3 plays later, and they're busting the door down 50 yards deep.
Classic South Carolina offensive performance this year.
Mm-hmm.
Very hot and cold.
Yep.
No lukewarmness
Nothing.
from these guys.
No consistency.
Zero. But you know what? Young quarterback, you kind of come to expect this from a young quarterback, particularly dual threat quarterbacks. They seem to be boom or bust a lot more than a standard pro style. Like a standard pro style guy, a bad game is going to look like really, really bad yards per attempt. You might go 23 for 34 for 212 and a pick and 2 touchdowns. That's a quote unquote bad game. And I feel like the volatile performances of a dual threat tend to be a little bit worse than that.
Yeah.
Sorry, just checking stuff. I shouldn't be checking in the middle of live shows. That's on me. Let's move on to Iowa State. Mid-12 doing mid-12 things, huh?
Doing the mid-12. I mean, the Big 12 is the new Pac-12. where it's just a bunch of teams where it's like, hey, maybe this team's going to be the one that come out of it this year. And by the time you get to mid-November, it's like, oh, no one here is good, but maybe now it's one of them has to make a playoff spot, and Iowa State's one of these examples. There's been time and time again where it's like, I don't think Iowa State's that good, but they're undefeated, so we kind of got to give them the nod and the tip of the cap. They finally got gotten out of all the teams to get got to. Texas Tech. What the hell?
Sneaky good. Sneaky good Texas Tech is.
Sneaky good.
The Big 12, though, is in its entirety this season has been here, you take it. Here, you take it. Here, you take it. And then BYU gets it's like, let's go. Let's take off. Let's run. We go hold this thing down. They're the only team that has done that in the Big 12 this year. They're sitting pretty, and they're going to continue to work their way through this Big 12 schedule, I think, and they're going to be crowned Big 12 champs, I believe. They're the only team in this conference that has kind of said, I'll take the reins of this bad boy. I want a playoff spot. Everybody else is just like, I don't really feel like it this year. It's just a very weird conference.
It's insane to think that of the 4 Power 4 conferences, 3 of them could have conference champions that are in their first year within the conference.
Say that again?
3 out of the 4 Power 4 conferences, 3 of them could have conference champions that are in their first year. Oregon could win the Big 10, SMU could win the ACC, and then BYU could win the Big 12.
Isn't there a route for Texas to win the SEC too?
There is, but I don't think
Certainly
it's
a
super
route.
likely.
Yeah.
Went out.
Like, it looks like Oregon's going to win the Big 12. It looks like Big 10. It looks like BYU's going to win the Big 12. It looks like SMU has a really good chance of winning the ACC. Texas could win the SEC. They're definitely competitive. They were ranked number 1 at one point, but it doesn't look like they're going to win it at this point.
One of our veterans that bumped into us at the tailgate Saturday messaged me, ironically, right around the time that we were just talking about this. And it says, appreciate your time. You asked what drew me to your content and what makes me continue to come back. After some thoughts, I want a deeper understanding of why things are occurring on the field, and I never want to be an uninformed/ignorant fan. Your candor, humor, and instruction scratches that curiosity. And as stated Saturday, there are many similarities between football and combat, and you identify many of those parallels unknowingly, and that appeals to me. Thanks again. See you in Oxford. He shall remain unnamed because
he a dude.
Dude, he's a badass. An absolute badass. So, thank you for your service. If you weren't slacking off, you would have been there enjoying that interaction.
By the way, that's word on the street.
Word on the street is you slack off. That's
Who
word on the
said
street.
that?
Someone started a rumor.
Don't know who it was. But that's word on the street. Every person we bumped into was like, hey, where's that Christian Kirby guy at? And we're like, oh, he's not working today. 9 times out of 10, the response was, checks out.
What the hell? I didn't get credentialed.
I don't know, man.
I would have gone.
I don't know, man. That's maybe I certainly could have done a better job steering the narrative.
Oh, he didn't get credentialed. He's not working today?
Yeah, see, that
does me no favors.
That's what I'm saying. That's that part right there probably on me. The rest, uncontrolled.
Making you look like a bum.
That's on me.
It's all good.
Yeah, Iowa State mid-12 in it. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I've been waiting for that one to happen. I even said last Thursday that maybe this is the week I tune into you guys. I chose not to deliberately, and here we are. Texas Tech got that dub. Shout out to the Red Raiders. Clemson, what a weird-ass loss they took this week.
Ooh. Me and you were trying to figure this out as it was happening because we caught the second half of the game. We're like, surely turnovers, surely Cade Klubnik is just having an off day. Go and check the box score. He has 112 on 26 completions, so not a great day on offense. No turnovers, though. They were great on third down. I believe they were at 50%. Like, they were converting on third down. They were 2 of 3.
60%.
They were 2 of 3 on fourth down. They were winning time of possession. What the heck is going on with Clemson? Come to find out, they missed 3 field goals, I think, in that football game and just weren't moving the ball.
2 of them were blocked, but the thing that stood out to me, because I watched the second half of that game, they just got out physicaled. I mean, the Clemson that
they got gashed in the run game.
The Clemson that ran through the ACC won it because it took advantage of the fact that there really wasn't another physical team in that conference. It was, you could just kind of beat up, hey, we're going to lose to Pitt every now and then. We'll have one of these questionable losses, but other than that, we can just bludgeon everyone. They can't do that anymore. Then that's the scariest part of it all. It's not, the transfer portal talent. It's not, there's not enough depth because of NIL and all those things. It's not Dabo Swinney's too. They just can't out physical teams anymore.
They had 2 major problems in that football game, in my opinion. One, they got absolutely folded in the run game. I think Louisville averaged almost 8 yards per carry in that ball game. You're never going to win doing that. The other thing, they had zero sense of urgency, down multiple scores in that football game.
Running the ball
Very, very weird. So much so that I went and listened to the press conference because we noticed it on the way back home. It's like, this offense is anemic. They are obviously not even attempting or completely, or completing rather balls down the field. They obviously have zero vertical passing game based off just the box score. And I went and listened to the post-game press conference to see if he addressed the offense at all. And in his 7-minute opening statement about the football game, all he talked about offensively was one key drop in the football game, penalties, quote, a few missed blocks, and then he talked about how proud he was that the offense fought. There's no, we've got to do a better job in these football games finding ways to create explosive passing game. There's no, we've got to find ways to become more explosive on the offensive side of the ball. We've got to do this. We got to do it. No, it was, I'm proud of my guys for the way that they fought, and we had one key drop. And a few missed blocks and some questionable penalties was the final point on that. Just weird.
Interesting way to hold a press conference when your team likely just got pushed out of the college football playoff.
I don't know if this is accurate or not. I haven't paid attention to Clemson football every play, every game, every second in the season. But this Clemson team in particular, and Dabo Swinney in particular, it feels like there's no fire.
Yeah.
Like even last year you had the Tyler from Spartanburg blow up and all those things. It just seems like Dabo Swinney's just like, yeah, oh, okay.
Well, to be honest with you, and this is, everyone cracks on him for the lack of transfers and all that good stuff, but he recruits a very specific type of football player, And when you're talking about, like, there's not a lot of fight, there's not a lot of aggression on that football team, it's because the roster doesn't have a lot of aggression on that football team. There's not a lot of alpha's the wrong term. There's not a lot of tone setters, or as my football coach would say, not a lot of liquor drinkers on that Clemson football roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Name me a crazy person. You got to have a few crazy people. You know what I mean? This ain't tennis. This is football. This is an aggressive, physical, violent sport. And even though they've got great football players, they got pushed around Saturday night. And there was nobody there to run their face through a wall. And it matters in football. Every once in a while, you're going to get bumped up on one of these teams that's just physically better than you or tougher than you that day.
Yep.
Maybe not physically better than you. So, yeah, maybe – and, you know, it's something that's often talked about on the recruiting trail when you talk to some of these other football coaches is that, like, oh, that's a Clemson guy. Well, what's a Clemson guy? Well, he's got really good grades. He's a good kid, all that good stuff. And, you know, he loves football. Has he got some shit in his neck? I don't know. You know, this is a sport that needs some shit in the neck every once in a while.
It's a new term, I'm not going to lie. I haven't heard that one.
It's a common old school football term, I think.
Sure.
I've never heard it. I'm not doubting you, but it's new to me. So,
SMU in the notes today as a, quote, offensive wagon, question mark.
You know, I'll tie this back into Clemson as well. I think I'm a little disappointed that we are going to likely get a SMU versus Miami ACC championship game because, well, it may end up being a whole lot of fun because if neither defense shows up and it's just both offenses duking it out and you get 120 points scored in this conference championship game.
It's going to be fun.
That'll be electric. But what I was excited to potentially watch was Clemson's defense try and match up against Miami's offense and kind of see which one was going to overpower the other. And on top of that, see which one between Miami's defense and Clemson's offense was going to show up on that day and try and go win that football game. I was more intrigued in that matchup, and I thought that would be a better overall football game. But now we just got to hope and pray that the stadium runs out of fireworks when SMU and Miami come to town.
So I went and ran some numbers today. I'm a big proponent and a big believer in yards per play as a defensive metric. I think it really quantifies how good you are as a defense, and it takes out into account all of the defenses like Oklahoma's who are constantly playing with short fields. You know, points per game can get a little bit skewed if your offense is terrible, right? Or if your offense scores really, really quickly like 2019 LSU, your defensive metrics are going to look really, really bad unless you look at yards per play. That is the down in, down out efficiency of the defenses. These are the defenses that SMU has played to date in the season. Nevada ranks 74th in yards per play. Houston Christian isn't ranked in the 133 teams that I found today. BYU is the best defense that they've played all year. They rank 41st in yards per play. TCU 69th, Florida State 78th, Louisville 87th, Stanford a whopping 111th in this category, Duke 63rd, Pittsburgh 66th. Guys, they've faced one top 50 defense all year, and it's BYU. They've played nobody, Paul. And they ain't going to play nobody. The rest of the schedule is dog doo-doo as well. So they might get into a college football playoff having not played a single top 50 defense because Miami ain't one either.
I was about to say, Miami's not going to be one of those teams either.
But, I mean, handle your business. Shout out to you. Get in, get to the dance, and then see what happens.
So we shit on the schedule. Now let's give credit to the football team. They've done a tremendous job in terms of developing their roster through the portal and through NIL. There is no doubt they are a Dallas-Fort Worth university, okay? They have lots and lots of money, lots of it. I would put them on par with just about any SEC school at this point with regards to their ability to go get some cash and get it influxed into their roster. And if you look at it, man, this is very akin and very similar to what Florida State did last year. I'm not saying that they have however many 7 NFL draft picks on this roster right now. However, this is what I'm calling nowadays a second-year bloom for SMU. 14 of their 22 starters are second or third-year transfers, meaning they're not guys that they just grabbed out of the portal and are asking to play right now. They're guys that they grabbed out of the portal last year, went through some growing pains with, developed, and now are playing and paying massive dividends in year 2 of their roster. Again, 14 of 22 guys that showed up to this roster within the last 24 months that are now paying massive dividends this year. Now, they've sprinkled in a couple of first-year hits as well through the transfer portal. So what I'm telling you is you get a bunch of money and you get a bunch of booster bases. That's one step. The other step is to make sure those guys are hits, and it seems like they're paying dividends for this roster.
I mean, it's also...
Ooh. You guys are in unison tonight, huh?
It's also a matter of, timing up the window. And I think that the SMU has done this perfectly in the sense that not only did you align this for the first year that you were coming into the ACC, but it also happened to align with the year that you go into the conference and you don't have Clemson or Miami on your schedule. So the schedule and everything aligned for you to do this, and you're cashing in on it. That's the most important thing. It's one thing to time it up to where you have a whole lot of vets and a whole lot of returning players on your roster to coincide with this type of thing, but to actually cash in on it and make it count, or at least what we think is going to count, that's good on you as a football staff and as a football team.
Chat makes a good point. I need every single one of you to go ahead and hit that like button. Appreciate y'all for that. Where were we at?
Just wrapping up SMU.
Quick notes, Ole Miss explosion. I thought it was a pretty bad plan for Arkansas.
Yeah.
Too many one-on-one opportunities for that wide receiver core from Ole Miss.
It also very much felt like that Lane Kiffin wanted to come back and re-steer the narrative that, hey, Ole Miss is kind of playing flat right now, and just come out and kick the teeth in of an Arkansas football team that we all kind of think is good at least.
I don't love watching Arkansas backup quarterbacks celebrate touchdowns the way that they did down the rate that they were.
I missed this.
I didn't see
Their
this.
fan base didn't like it either.
What'd they do? What happened?
I don't want to name the young man, but it was a scramble, I think, to make it 63-21. And you'd have thought he scored the go-ahead touchdown in the Super Bowl based off the way he reacted. So I'm sure there will be some corrective actions taken in that Sam Pittman coaching staff with regards to that. Mike Norvell, let's get into it. We had a decent discussion about this pre-show, and I don't know where this topic even goes moving forward because I think it's a relatively moot point because they signed him to an extension. They signed Mike Norvell through, I think, 2031. They owe him $85 million. If they were to fire him today, they owe him 85% of that $85 million, which, like I said a couple weeks ago, I think that's about $69 million.
Nice.
So where do you want to go with the discussion? Because it is bad. They are laying down. That's the worst part.
Yeah, I mean, the team's laying down, the roster's laying down, the fan base is laying down. It seems like the recruiting.
$72 million.
It seems like the recruiting's laying down. Like, everything about this program is not. Look, we accept the fact that 2024 is a wash of a season. It's a disaster. It's a joke. It's gonna live in infamy for a long time. The problem is 2025 and 2026 aren't looking that much better for Mike Norvell. And I understand that you're tied to him now because of this lump sum of cash that you've given him or guaranteed him. And I understand that what he did in 2023 was special. And you got cheated out of a playoff and you should have been in there. And God knows what could happen if you played in a meaningful game. We've all had those what ifs. But you're at a point now where the future doesn't look bright at all under Mike Norvell.
You know, we heard an interesting clip this weekend where I don't even know whose podcast it was, but on this so-called podcast, there was someone on there making claims that Keon Coleman was telling kids not to go to Florida State. Like, after he wrapped up his season at Florida State, supposedly there was word that he was
specifically the wide receivers coach.
Yeah.
Not just Florida State as a whole, but don't go play for that wide receivers coach.
Yeah, like, do not go there. Do not go play for that coach. Like, very interesting to hear that type of thing come out and then have this season unfold. Now, obviously, it's a whole bigger problem than even if it was just a wide receiver and it's not. I mean, its entire roster, its entire outlook of the season. You have like 100 people showing up at your game. Very eerie feeling too, or look to that when you see a college football stadium with like just a few people sporadically out throughout the stadium.
The worst part about this is that, yes, you've had injuries. Yes, the transfer portals didn't pay off, all of those things. This program and this team is better than 1-11.
No shit.
They're averaging 14.4 points a game. So, I mean, like,
with an offensive-minded head coach, by the way.
Yeah, it's just disgusting. And it's not, it's to the point where it's past, oh, this is just a really, really bad roster on a down year. Like, it's bad now.
Isaiah Wilkerson has a tremendous point in the chat. Mike Norvell better be buttoned up with his personal life right about now.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people do a lot of crazy stuff for $72 million to be avoided. Hate to do that, but that there's people in that fan base probably thinking about that. Like, how can we get this out for cause?
Did you see the fan talking crap to the players? Oh man, I mean there was a guy standing at the wall of the stadium as low as you can go in the stadium behind Florida State's bench, and is just airing it out. I mean, letting them hear it, saying anything and everything he could think of. Some disgusting things said to some college football players, and everybody's kind of fed up with it down there.
I guess the actual discussion, and I know we're running long here, but the actual discussion is, at what point do you have to eat the money because of how much of a lame duck he is? And in the sense that if you continue to stack bad recruiting classes and you're just waiting out your time for this buyout to decrease enough to where you think it's manageable and swallowable, and then next thing you know, you've waited so long that the next guy you hire has no chance anyways because the program's deteriorated so far. These things happen really quickly. Like, you can fall off the map really, really fast. We've seen this, by the way, to an extent with Florida. Like, you make several bad hires in a row, and now we're 15 years removed from Urban Meyer, and you're like, what in the world?
Or if you're Auburn, you make one bad hire, and you get there in a year and a half.
And you're hoping Yellowwood pulls you out.
I mean, you're at the point now where it seems like every season you stick with Mike. And again, it's one season, so we might be being a little bit dramatic here, but what we've seen is bad.
All right, let's talk about another football coach that's down bad right now, and that's Auburn and Hugh Freeze. You take a home loss to Vandy, and nobody talks about it?
Yeah, I mean, home losses to Vandy are usually like this is a disaster.
Pack it up.
We need him gone. Now, I get it. Vanderbilt has had a special season. You beat Alabama. You give Texas a run for their money.
Give Missouri a run for their money.
The stink of Vanderbilt, losing to Vanderbilt, is not as bad as it once was, but it is still a team that realistically you should be competitive. You should score more than 7 points against offensive-minded head coach. So that's where I think it should go. And the fact that no one, like you said, no one's really batting an eye to it.
Lord knows if anyone's going to give Hugh Freeze some smoke, it's your boy. I've gotten to the point at this point in the season where, and I think even their fan base has, I think their fan base entered this level of discussion about a month ago after the Cal loss, is that nothing matters, only recruiting matters. No matter what you do this season, we know you suck. We know the team sucks, so who cares? We know the quarterback sucks. We don't care. Just make sure you hold on to the recruits that you have. So the smoke for Hugh Freeze moving forward this season does not arise on this network until a decommit happens. The moment a decommit happens, we'll come on here and be like, hey, look out now. That's not great, but I think he's fine. He's got a top 7 class right now.
He's in top
8.
10.
Yeah, I mean, he's recruiting well. Now, on the other hand, I can't find a lick of momentum in that USC program. Ooh. I can't find a one. Lost 4 out of their last 5, and they're about to lose the biggest loss yet, it appears, with Julian Lewis flirting around with Indiana again. Yeah. This weekend. He's going to go on another visit. This one on his dime. He's already taken his OV. Where's the mo? That's my question. Where's the momentum out there?
There is none. It's nowhere to be found. It got sour quick for Lincoln Riley. We were talking about week 0, how, hey, this team, week 1, hey, Lincoln Riley turned around. This USC defense looks physical. They beat LSU. Quarterback, I'm forgetting his name now. What's his
Miller Moss?
Miller Moss.
Yes,
much better quarterback than we anticipated he would be. It looked good, and then the wheels just very, very quickly fell off. So I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know how he gets out of the season at this point. I mean, we kind of called Paul Feinbaum crazy for saying he's fired, but I don't know.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have it. We have a debut of a new camera angle here in the network. We're in 3.
Yeah.
Are we going to 1?
Yeah, you got to walk over.
All right. Oh, yeah, my bad. Hey. What's up, guys? This is the new camera angle. This is us and a whiteboard. Shout out John Gruden. So we have the college football playoff first rankings coming out tomorrow. What should I back up? Am I good?
Yeah.
Am I good? I feel uncomfortable. I can't see myself for the first time in this network or in this studio. So here we go. We've given our top 12, as you can see on the board. All right, we consensusly agreed that Oregon is the #1 team in the country. The boys beat me 2 out of 3. I had Georgia at 2. They had Ohio State at 2. The reason being their one loss being to Oregon, tight football game, and the top 5 win on the road this past weekend against Penn State. That put them at number 2. All right, I had Georgia 2. The boys had a consensus Georgia number 3. Actually, they didn't. You had Miami at number 3, correct,
yeah,
Kirby?
I think conference champion. They have a clearer path to being a conference champion. We all talked about how if LSU and Texas A&M keep winning out, Georgia doesn't make the SEC championship. That's a ding on them, and Miami's undefeated. It's simple, and I think that this early it's not going to matter. You're still inside the top 4. Hell, you're still inside the top 12, but I have Miami ahead of them.
You know what it'll tell me? If Georgia's ranked ahead of Miami tomorrow, guys, it'll tell me that the the college football playoff committee still thinks the ACC sucks. Fair?
Oh, yeah.
Fair?
Very fair.
It'll give us an indication that a one-loss SEC team at this point in the season is better than an undefeated Miami. All right, let's go on. We have all of us had Texas at number 5. Is that correct? Oh, no. Kirby had Indiana at number 5, and we all had Texas at number 5.
Again,
so that puts Indiana at number 6. Tennessee and Penn State was a discussion point for us, and I think it will be for the committee tomorrow. 2 one-loss football teams, 1 a loss to Arkansas, 1 a loss to Ohio State. However, the reason Jonathan and I had Tennessee above Penn State and what will be a discussion point tomorrow is both have losses. Penn State's a quality loss up as opposed to Tennessee's. However, Tennessee has a noteworthy win over Alabama at home. Penn State, find me the noteworthy win, folks at home. I dare you. I mean, there's just not one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, West Virginia, who's their quality win?
The most quality win is their 21-7 win over Illinois.
Or maybe their road win over USC. That was a close win.
Yeah.
But at the time, USC seemed relatively good. It was a come-from-behind win. Either way, we had a discussion point there. We were a consensus grab at BYU number 9. Guys, is there any potential that the committee might see this as a bit higher of a projection than us? Is there any way that this undefeated Big 12 team might be here at like 6 or 7 or 8?
Yes, because, I mean, the Big 12 conference champion is going to be ranked 4th or inside the top 4 come the end of the regular season. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't even think the committee thinks they're a top 4 team right now, but just by the way the system's set up, they're going to be a top 4 team.
And speaking of the way the system is set up, we went with a consensus ranking of Boise State at 12, which makes us have a battle right here, as you see, between the 10 and 11 spots. And I think this is going to happen tomorrow night, guys, where they're looking at a 1 or 2 loss SEC team like Bama or like LSU or like A&M, all right, and Notre Dame and SMU with 2 spots left at 10 and 11 rather. We selected Alabama and Notre Dame, even though there was a little bit of a discussion here in the room as to whether or not to put SMU here as opposed to Alabama. I don't think it necessarily matters. However, I think we're going to get a very clear line in the sand about where the committee thinks these conferences rank amongst one another tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's kind of always been the secret discussion of, the committee clearly, they'll never say it, all conferences are created equal. But behind closed doors, they value SEC wins. They value Big Ten wins more than ACC and Big 12 wins. Looks no further than what happened last season. So,
which brings us to our OLI. Our outside looking in this week is SMU, A&M, LSU, Iowa State, and an undefeated Army right about now. Kirby, what do the servicemen got to do to get some respect around here?
Just keep winning. Just keep serving the country proudly and just keep winning. I mean, there's not much else that can go right. Obviously, Boise State losing would help you. Some other teams that aren't necessarily – you just keep winning.
Just keep winning.
Keep serving our country and keep winning, boys.
Just keep doing us proud. Thank you to the servicemen. Thank you to camera number 1 for helping us out with a brand new debut of a camera angle here on the Film Guy Network. Appreciate that. That was fun. We have a whole nother hour. What's up?
A new dimension of the studio has been unlocked.
Absolutely. We have a whole nother hour coming up right now, and it is our best hour. We're going to talk them dogs. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? Really like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back in, I should say, to the Film Guy Network. We have a loaded local hour for you guys. We're going to continue our Georgia and Florida reactions from that football game. What's going on with Carson Beck? We'll continue to dive into that topic. I think it's just time to talk about the offense as a whole. Billy Napier's job potentially a little bit safer after that football game. Maybe. We'll talk about that. Also have a few takeaways from that football game. We're going to give them 3 there. We're going to give game balls away, and we have a few injury updates for you guys as well. But first and foremost, I want to give a quick shout-out to our friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a new book this season, BetUS is indeed the answer for you guys. They have the fastest withdrawal and deposit process in the industry. Head over there today using the description in the link of this video, all right? And you will get a first-time deposit match of up to 150%, up to $2,000 over there on your first deposit, and 125% match on your next 2 deposits, again, up to $2,000, only using promo code YouTube150. Again, that promo code YouTube150. I've already made the decision right here, right now. I'm taking over best bets this week. We're going to give them out tomorrow.
Okay.
How'd you go this week before I make that decision?
1-1-1.
Definitely taking those over this week. So we'll be taking those over, and that means I'll probably go 0 for 5, so definitely fade me this week. Definitely fade me this week. All right, let's get into it. UGA, UF reactions. Who wants to start? Good teams win ugly. Good teams win ugly. Now, great teams avoid having to win ugly multiple times.
Correct.
I don't think you're a great football team right now, but you are a really good one that finds ways to win ugly when you look around college football, and there's not a ton of those. And it's just lip service at this point to say Florida is a much improved bunch. But that's not coach speak. They are. Like, they're a good football team. Now, the quarterback situation is going to change that dramatically moving forward. But offensive line, defensive line, skill position-wise, they look like a really good SEC football team. They are not a really good SEC football team record-wise, but they look like one at the lines of scrimmage, and they are much improved. Again, that goes out the window, though, the moment Lagway gets hurt. And I think you saw the offensive game plan change pretty drastically from Florida, and that goes without saying. But this goes without saying as well. Your offense Saturday scored 34 points in a game in which you turned it over 3 damn times. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. That's pretty good offensive points production, again, when you're sacrificing possessions. I thought looking back at it, Mike Bobo called a tremendous football game, and the plan was obvious. The plan was obvious from the start. They were going to stretch that team horizontally. And in fact, I was speaking to sources pregame, and that was the plan. They planned to stretch this team, hit them with quick now screens, hit them with end arounds, get this team to run east and west. They didn't think they were fast enough. And by the way, I think that's a tremendous point of just how good your offensive staff is as a whole, that pregame, that was the plan. And looking back at it, that was what won the football game. The end arounds in that football game, and particularly the now screens, getting the ball out in space and winning on the edge. That's what moved the football, and that's what had this football team in a position to win this game and do so offensively, despite the fact that all the turnovers were created. Those two end arounds in that football game and the quick now screens were the key to the win offensively, and that was the purpose of the game plan on Tuesday. That's great planning from your offensive coordinating staff.
I think this game also boiled down to your special players or your football players made special plays that Florida didn't down the stretch. Cash Jones breaking multiple tackles to fight into the end zone is a special play. C.J. Allen's interception towards the end of that football game, that is a special play made by a special player. So at the end of the day, your football players made the big plays. In the second half, when it was tied up, those were the key moments that kind of defined that football game, where Florida, they just couldn't find that. They weren't able to. They had it in the first half. You get a turnover, then you immediately strike with a touchdown. You got some momentum shaking in your way, and then it just kind of flips back the other way. But the momentum did flip multiple times. You know, as someone that was in that stadium, you could feel it shift multiple times throughout the game. When Florida tied it up 2020, you could feel it go over to Florida's side, but it seemed like also in that game, Georgia was able to capture it right back. As soon as Florida would get a hold of it, Georgia would snatch it right back. So I think it was just it boiled down to your players made some special plays that Florida's players were not able to.
Carson Beck is the first quarterback in SEC history to throw back-to-back games with 3 interceptions and win both games. So I mean that just shows you the fight and the willpower of this team. And to Jay was right. It was a momentum swinging game, more than you've seen in a normal Georgia-Florida game. Like I said, the last 3 years, there's kind of been a moment where it's like, okay, Florida's playing really well, and then something happens that goes catastrophic and the wheels fall off. To Florida's credit, they did have that moment, and they still were in the game. That snap on the field goal was insane. I've never seen one roll that far. But I have.
Is this video on YouTube anywhere?
Yeah. Didn't mean to bring
up. I've found it. I've watched it many a time.
Didn't mean to bring up.
Every time I need a good cry.
Fine him.
I'll fix it.
Fine him.
What?
He just broke the microphone.
I didn't break it. It's off the stand.
Yeah, it's because he's always messing with it.
Nah.
You know, it's.
Anyways, didn't mean to bring up old wounds for you there, but no, it was to Florida's credit. They came back and were able to tie that game up. So.
This will be fun watching you try.
No, it'll take me 15 seconds.
All right, what's going on with Carson Beck? Do you want me to go through it?
Yeah, me and you both broke it, or you broke it down. I was in the room.
Yeah, you got firsthand knowledge of it. All right, so I charted all 11 interceptions. Let's go through these really, really quickly. First one of the year is Arian Smith busting on a tunnel screen. The second interception of the year is our first of 3. What the hell are you doing, quarterback? We can't do that type of decisions. He threw an interception in a quote-unquote 2-minute drill right there before the half to Jahad Campbell in that Alabama football game. The third and final interception of that game and third interception of the year is, in my opinion, just as much on Colby Young as it is on the quarterback, okay? The fourth interception was the second play of the football game against Mississippi State. Dylan Fairchild doesn't quite pick up a wrapping defensive lineman like he's supposed to. Defensive lineman has an opportunity to get up off the ground. Ball goes into the air off of his face mask. Backside safety makes a tremendous play, picks the football off. The fifth interception was what Carson is, after the game, described as, I saw pass interference. I was drawing attention to it. That guy made a good play to make an interception. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, let's not put that one at the feet of the referee. Let's not ask him and make sure he's doing his job. Let's do ours and assume that he's going to do his job. We do that all across the football world where we tell you, do your job. Don't assume someone else is going to do theirs. Just take care of what you can take care of. Let's not put the ball at risk hoping that the referee does his job. That's a bad decision. I'll give you that. The 6th interception of the season is the first interception in the game against Texas. I think it's a tremendous play by Makuba, the safety from Texas, supposed to be in a hook curl position, turns, runs, gets up underneath the deep over, and not only that, makes an incredible play on the ball, gets at its highest point, tips it up in the air, pirouettes, finds it as it's coming down. Tremendous play. Probably need to identify where the backside safety is when we're making that play. It's a mistake by the quarterback, but it's far more of a better play by Makuba. The 7th interception of the season is the Lawson Lucky tip-up, right? In the red zone, bad throw by Carson, bad spot. You can argue if it's catchable. We're going to blame the quarterback because the quarterback takes the responsibility in these situations. The 8th interception is another bust, in my opinion, by Arian Smith. The 9th interception is our second "what the hell are you doing, quarterback" moment in this Florida game yesterday. He had another moment in the 10th interception where it's like, dude, what are you doing? We're throwing the ball late. We can't force that football. I don't care who you are. Don't make that decision. The 11th interception was him hit while he was throwing. All right, so I go through that, guys, and there's 11 interceptions on the scorecard, so everyone's thinking, God, the quarterback must be sucking. He must be making terrible decisions with the football. 3 of them, yeah. 3 of them, absolute terrible decisions with the ball. The other 8, kind of football plays, dude. Not a lot of which I'm blaming the quarterback for.
And I think that there's now specifically in this game, I think that this was the first one where it was. Dude,
you want to bring criticism for his play Saturday? I'm standing right there with you.
100%.
He did not play good.
I don't think anybody, a single person, would disagree with you in saying that.
He would.
Exactly. I mean, he answered it multiple times during the press conference after the game, and he took he took blame just as he always does. But I think too that another conversation that has to go in with this is while Carson hasn't been very consistent this year, I shouldn't say very. He hasn't been as consistent as he was last year. The entire offense hasn't been as consistent as it was last year, and I think it has to play into this. People want to blame coaching. They want to blame the OC. They want to blame everything and try and find every nook and cranny as to why this offense is maybe not running at the rate that it should be. But I think it kind of boils down to this. Ra Thomas dismissed from the football team before the season starts. Roderick Robinson, turf toe, has been out the entire season. Trevor Etienne suspended for game 1. Tate Ratledge misses 4 weeks. Jared Wilson misses multiple games. Colby Young suspended from the team. Anthony Evans, hamstring injury before Florida. He doesn't play against the Gators. Branson Robinson goes down. Trevor Etienne injured against Florida. You've had moving pieces on offense the entire year. You've had to replace guys. You've had to put new bodies, new faces on top of replacing a Ladd McConkey, a Roderick, and a Brock Bowers.
And you didn't even go into the fact that he's got wide receivers dropping balls, running wrong routes.
Yeah, and I think all of this is accumulated in the fact that Carson Beck probably feels a sense of he has to kind of be a Superman. He has to force the throws. He has to be the one to make plays happen. Last year it was, hey, I've got 19, I've got 84. If things go astray, I've got at least playmakers. And that was kind of why we maybe he got that criticism of check down merch. It was because he had so much trust in players where it was like, you know what? I don't need to force the ball 10 yards down the field. I've got a winner right here where I can just get a quick, easy completion and see what they can do. You don't necessarily have that this year. And I think that is accumulated in the fact that he feels more responsible for making the offense go, which in turn leads to overextending, bad footwork. He's seeing things late because he's not exactly trusting his first read. I mean, that first interception, London Humphreys was open. He came off of it, and then by the time he looked back, the flat corner had dropped back into the zone. So the problem is, like, he saw it late, didn't necessarily have confidence because imagine that's a similar route that London Humphreys dropped against Texas.
Here's the only area where I think there's valuable pushback in this discussion. Isn't that the quarterback's job? Aren't great quarterbacks tasked with elevating those around him?
Absolutely.
So you're supposed to be able to patchwork all those holes.
For sure.
And I think that this is what I think is the best thing what the biggest positive you could take away from that football game is after the 3 interceptions, that's the rest of the football game, you would have never known that Carson had 3 interceptions. He did not play like he had thrown 3 interceptions. He didn't play scared. I think that has to do with you had a great coordinator who settled his quarterback back into the game and had him settle down and got him some easy throws, got him back on track. But when the offense needed a drive, Carson Beck and that offense delivered. And I think that he does what he always has done at Georgia. He makes some big throws, puts you in a position to win the football game. And as soon as Florida answered, so did 15 in the offense.
I'm sorry, fellas. I can't excuse 11 interceptions. That's just poo-poo. So, and we're going to run into this the rest of my career. There is a difference, a vast difference between explaining and excusing. All right? Explaining why something happened and going through it is what you should do because football is very complex. It took me 43 minutes to break down 11 plays today. All right? And that's the way most of the time it ought to be done. The analysis of a football game and the play of a quarterback shouldn't be boiled down to a 90-second soundbite. All right? And if you just want to go somewhere and just have your thoughts confirmed of the quarterback's playing bad, then I can do that. We can do that. We can just come in here and we can just say, quarterback's playing like shit. Look at it. 11 interceptions. That's not what we do here. What we do here is explain why the quarterback is playing bad or why the offense is having problems right now. Those are explanations. Those are not excuses. I just went through 11 different plays, charted them by memory, told you what happened on each individual one, and you claim to be excuses. No, they're explanations.
And again, going on what you're saying, it's not justifying or saying that, hey, it's fine, it's not a thing to worry about. It is a concern. You're not going to win
it's still a concern.
You're not going to win a national title if he continues playing this way. But saying it's because he's bad is not necessarily what's going on.
I think we did hit on the idea that this guy is pressing to an extent, and there's a reason for it, right? There's a reason why this guy is feeling like, hey, it is a little bit on me more than it normally is. Guys, y'all used to have football games where the quarterback could roll out there, throw it 14 times, you win by 35 points. Is that happening? Is that happening? I don't see that happening.
Negative.
Do you think if Georgia goes into a football game and throws it 14 times today, or nowadays, they probably don't win unless they're playing Kent State. There aren't games like that anymore against ranked Arkansas at home. They just don't look like, it's not how your offense is predicated right now. It's not how you're moving the football. You're moving the football by putting everything at the feet of your quarterback. So much so that the head coach today had the numbers prepared. He had his grade report prepared. Did y'all notice that? That Kirby had Carson's grade report prepared today? He said we took 73 offensive snaps Saturday. I don't know if that was the exact number. But he said Carson made the right decision, put us in the right play, and got a plus on his grades 65 out of 73 snaps. Now, of those 8 minuses, we got to make sure that 3 of them aren't catastrophic, right? We got to eliminate that. But my quarterback is out here executing at a 68 out of 73% completion or clip, right? And he said, in every other sport, my God, is that a win rate? But we can't have those, 5 misses be critical misses. And yes, that's got to get cleaned up. Duh. They know that. He knows that. It's not time to be out here making drastic changes.
And I think that's always kind of been the thing about Carson, too. Like, even last year when he was playing well and playing consistent, there was talks of, man, this guy just isn't flashy. Like, he's not flashing like we kind of hoped he would. But the conversation kept turning back to, man, this guy's football IQ is off the charts. And Kirby hit on it again after the Florida game of, yeah, he goes out there and throws 3 interceptions, and that's what everybody's going to go and see in the box score. When they go and look up Georgia versus Florida final and they check the box score, they're going to see Carson Beck throws 3 interceptions. They're going to go, dang, Carson Beck had a bad day. To an extent, yeah, he did have a bad day. 3 picks, not good. But then Kirby also mentioned, like, he does so many things that you do, like, fans will never know and people will never know, and plays that he makes that people don't know because he's putting Georgia in the right play. And on when you're just watching it on TV, it's like, oh, he threw it to the wide open wide receiver like he's supposed to. That's all he did, where it may be a little more complex than that. And typically it is. And you can see it watching a game. Carson is continuously working in the pocket, getting things put in the right spots, and getting that offense put in winnable situations.
Also continually working at the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
Does more at the line than anybody else. And most of your offense right now is predicated off of his abilities to do so, right? To get you in the right play. All of those, I wouldn't say all of those now screens, but a lot of those wide receiver screens are checks by Carson at the line of scrimmage to get you out of a negative play that was called from the box, right? And that's the way football works now. We get up until 15 seconds and we get the play called and everything looks right and the coordinator loves it, and then the defense changes the picture. And the headsets are cut off. And now it's the quarterback's job to get us in the right spot. And this is what this guy does consistently. So, yeah, you got to stop forcing the football and got to get back to that check down Charlie mode that everybody didn't like. And I'm going to get into that. And I think that's my primary takeaway. Maybe we transition to right there. My number one takeaway from this football game is that I like check down Carson. I thought I was going to like Lambo Carson. I thought I was going to like drive it like you stole it Carson. I thought I was going to like, BDE energy. I thought I was going to like that. I don't like that. I think his best trait is to be efficient, to be Ruben Pfeffer. That's what we talked about in the preseason. Get a little bit less of this Ruben Pfeffer. Everything's got to be methodical. Make sure we don't die when we walk over the subway grates. I love that. I love that now. I like that. And here's why. You're so good. Like you're Georgia. So we what we can't do is sacrifice possessions. We can't just give them free ones. So let's be methodical. Let's move the football down. Let's play within the system. Let's play within ourselves. Let's get back to what made us a 73% completion percentage, 4,000-yard guy, because that was good enough. I think I was thinking, hey, maybe we throw for 69% completion percentage and we risk the football a little bit more. We drive it down the field and we throw for 4,400 yards. And now we become the best passing offense in the world because we got this quarterback that can do this. As opposed to just saying, hey, 73% completion percentage, rarely turning the football over, and being the best third down conversion rate team in all of college football. Maybe that was good enough. Maybe that was good enough. And I think if you were to ask Kirby, hey, if I could give you that, would you take that? He'd say, hell yeah, let's get back to that. And I think maybe those are some of the discussions that you have with your quarterback this week.
And that's where I think it goes back to the confidence in the players around you thing. Because, again, there is not a Brock Bowers there where if it's 3rd and 5, you can throw a 2-yard out route and you can trust that he's going to get it there for you. Things like that where you have so much trust because the players around you are proven. Now, to the credit of the other players, there's been a lot of injury. There's been a lot of inconsistency. Jay Will pointed it out. This roster has been overturning more than ever, especially on the offensive side of the ball, it feels like this year, just because of someone's injured, someone's suspended, so-and-so's not 100% this game, so-and-so's having a bad game today, so we maybe can't go his way. It just feels like Carson Beck really hasn't had a guy who he can look to and say, hey, it's 3rd and 5, I need a play to be made, here's my guy. And also, I understand that it is the quarterback's responsibility to have to kind of elevate the play of other players, but you do at some times need an ace in a hole.
Also, we haven't talked a bit about the fact that pockets ain't exactly been clean.
No, it has
not as clean as they have been.
They gave up 7 sacks all year last year. They ain't protecting the quarterback like they did last year at all.
No.
So there's a lot of now a lot of that's some of the defensive coordinators getting you, right? Mm-hmm. Being in 3rd and 9 gives them that opportunity instead of being 3rd and 4. So a lot of that is being in the situations that you're in because of offensive inefficiencies. But you have not been very clean in the pass protection department this year, to say the least. Let's give our 3 takeaways. Number 1, I like check down Carson. I just told you that. Efficiency Carson. Maybe get back to that. Number 2, I think that might be the C.J. Allen game.
Oh, that's one of mine.
Like not just he played great, but maybe that's what we see moving forward. Hopefully, right? Maybe because we saw inklings of that in the spring game. Of this guy might be like Roquan good.
A very similar like interception type player is like, what the heck?
What the hell? Who is this?
You just did that?
You could have taken that interception away from his game, and I would have still said that's the best game he's played in a Georgia uniform.
Yeah, Kirby mentioned it today. He had multiple touchdown-saving tackles.
Yes. He was filling alleys like a madman. It was insane. That first half, I mean, there's a couple of plays that they're breaking off at least 20-yard runs if he's not filling the alley. So
I forgot my OLI before I deliver my punchline of number 3. My OLI is Florida kickers got boots.
Yes,
absolute
that punter,
boots. The punter and the field goal kicker. Field goal kicker hit one from 53 that was good from 65. It was midway up the post and into the net. Number 3, and I hate to say this, but they ain't watching anyways because of this reason. Florida fans don't know ball. Y'all don't know ball. And here's my meter for ball knowing from now on. And it's very vain, as most things are on this network. Very vain. Focus. That's unfortunate.
It hasn't unfocused.
You got to be vain to have your name on a wall this big, okay? Florida fans don't know ball, not near as much as other SEC fan bases, because, guys, we're traveling nowadays, and I'm bringing the boys, and we're going on road shows, and we out and about in these SEC places, and we've been to Texas, and we've been to we'll go to Oxford this weekend, and we've been to down to Jacksonville, and we've been out to Austin, Texas, and we've been to Tuscaloosa. And guys, other fan bases, y'all know us, y'all see us coming, y'all say, hey man, I love your work, love the Film Guy Network, love the film work that you do, love learning ball from you. And I don't know if there's an SEC football program outside of Georgia that I have covered on a more frequent basis over the last 4 years on this network via film breakdowns than the Florida Gators. Not time. Not one. Not one Florida Gator fan stopped us this week, did they, Jay Will?
Nope. The only Florida fan that knew who we were, it was because his wife put him on our show.
Who was a dog fan?
Who was a dog fan. So she was the ball knower in the family and said, hey, buddy, we got to get you some knowledge in here, all right?
Come on, get baptized with football education. Husband that is a Gator fan. Only Gator fan that recognizes all week got drugged there by his wife, who was a certified ball knower.
Yeah,
Shout out to you, ma'am. Shout out to you, ma'am, for being a certified ball knower and educating your poor sack of a husband. That's a Florida Gator fan.
Now,
Just kidding.
In the defense of Florida fans, last 4 years, you might not want to be knowing a lot of the ball that's been played.
This was a good pushback from you pre-show. I understand that most people come to us for good news. They don't necessarily come to us for, look how bad your football team is. But honest to God, when I break down Florida, I'm like, better than I thought.
Yeah.
Every single time, better than I thought. They can't be out here box score scouting the Gators. Got to turn the all 22 on. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, non-ball knowers from the Florida fan base. Hey, that boy Brooks, give him 3. What do you got for us?
You go ahead, Kirby.
I'll go. All right, so we already talked about how C.J. Allen played his best game ever. I was so impressed. Again, take the interception away, it's still one of his best games. He had a couple of touchdown-saving tackles. Number 2, perimeter tackling is an issue for this defense. Not because of physicality. We saw, Daniel Harris knock someone's head off on what should not even been thrown as a flag, by the way. But the angles that the outside players take, particularly the corners, aren't necessarily good. It was why Florida had a touchdown in that one. When they got to 20, that touchdown that got them there. Stuff like that needs to really be cleaned up because when you play even more elite offenses, it's going to get exposed even worse. So that was something I noticed. And number 3, Mike Bobo is really good at his job. It sometimes feels like watching this offense, Mike Bobo has to draw up 2 winners to get up 1. And that is unfortunate because it does fall back on him to a degree of you have some idiot fan in the stand saying, Mike Bobo doesn't know what he's doing, our offense is doing terrible. We're going to get to the end of 2024 and people are going to look at the box score and say, Georgia didn't average 40 points this season, Mike Bobo stinks. That's going to happen, but the reality is Mike Bobo called another masterclass of a game. Every time Florida answered, he had a perfect drive drawn up for them to be answered, whether the players executed or not always consistent, but the fact is that the winners were there and they were consistently there. It never felt like Georgia did not have offensive answers for this team.
Hey, that boy Christian Kirby, give him 3.
My number 1, defense continues to grow and improve. I know that really the only gripe I saw that people had with Georgia's defense on Saturday was during the 2-minute drill where Florida has the ball, they push it down the field, and they get a field goal to score. And it was like, oh, Georgia's just giving up yards on the ground, and Florida got points out of it. The way I viewed it, though, is in that situation where it's a 10-6 ball game. Is that what it was?
It was, yeah.
10-6 ball game. What you can't do is allow a touchdown there. You can't go down 17-6 in a halftime with Florida getting the ball back. So I felt like that you were okay giving up those rushing yards because what you could do is have the top get taken off of your defense, let them score a touchdown, and then you're really in a deep hole. And Florida has fully all of the momentum at that point. But I thought the defense played great. I thought they responded really well. Really, the only points that Florida managed to get throughout this game was when you turned it over and you gave it back to them. So I thought the defense answered for you. They certainly made big plays, again, citing the C.J. Allen interception, but it was just all over the field. I thought defensive players, multiple of them, they had a great day holistically. Number 2, you couldn't have gotten Nate Frazier at a better time. Speaking of this season, I said this with the offensive line, and it applies to the running back room. Most teams, if you lose your starting running back and the 2 guys behind him, you're in a deep hole. Yeah, you are in some major trouble. Georgia, though, you got Cash Jones and you have Nate Frazier, who's a true freshman and is clearly a freak. Like, he's going to be one of these guys for the next 2 years after this season at Georgia who continues to make flash plays. I know that he's still kind of figuring things out.
I was about to say, the moment he learns to run with just like a smidgen of patience, it's going to be scary.
That one bounce hit on the outside, I was like, no.
Yeah, he'd be doing that.
But that's the thing, too, is like, even though he's still obviously figuring things out, he still looks really good.
Yeah, I think 18 for 89 this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, a good day for a true freshman.
Good day for the fantasy team.
Shut the hell up.
Oh, interested to see how that plays out tomorrow. But yeah, just Nate Frazier came at a great time for this program. And then my last one, it aligns with yours. Mike Bobo deserves even more respect after this past weekend. I thought that the way he handled the Carson situation, trying to get him settled back into the game, and just how he called that game throughout down the stretch, the last final drive of the game where you have to get a touchdown, you put it out of reach, and then also to put it up to multiple scores, you put in Dwight Phillips, the true freshman package they installed earlier in the week, according to Kirby. I mean, just dialed it up all the way.
Should we hey, that boy Jay will give him 3. Should we talk about what you might have saw from the box after the 3rd interception?
Oh, yeah. I saw someone ask this about the chat, too. So 3rd interception happens. Florida goes and does what they do on offense. Georgia's getting the ball back. Carson's warming up before on the sideline, getting ready for the series. And the other quarterback is Jaden Rashada. He's throwing with, I believe it was Dylan Bell.
But they're on separate sides of the field? Or
No, they're standing like in the same area,
Okay.
but doing like their little 10-yard throws, just kind of getting the arm loose.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. Some people took it as, oh my gosh, Rashada might get put in the game. I did not see it that way. My initial thought was, oh, Dylan Bell trying to get some more reps, like trying to get the hands ready, like doing something. That's what I kind of thought it as.
So let me ask you this. When you saw this, was it one quarterback throwing to one wide receiver and then that wide receiver handing the ball to the quarterback, the quarterback throwing it back to the other wide receiver? It's a warm-up drill.
Yeah, it's a very basic warm-up drill that every football team ever does.
What I thought when I first heard this, I thought people were telling me that Jaden Rashada was over there by himself throwing with Dylan Bell. That's a totally different discussion than both quarterbacks are throwing and Carson's getting warmed up and they need somebody else to throw the ball back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it more so just had to do with the situation that just unfolded. That's just how it perceived to people of like, oh, Carson has 3 interceptions. This is a potential. This is a possibility. Same thing happened in the Alabama game. I don't think anybody notices either. Of Carson had just thrown his 3rd interception of the football game. All of a sudden, Gunnar Stockton is standing in the huddle with the offense before they go out on the field. Everybody thinks Gunner's going into the football game. Like I think that had to do with the situation. Again, like Carson's turned it over multiple times. Oh, Kirby's trying to shake things up. No, I just think that you got a bunch of football guys that are trying to stay ready at any point in time because that's how they're taught. That's how they're coached.
It goes back to the Dwan Mathis video that went viral when he had the throw that everyone said was inaccurate. He wasn't throwing the ball to JT Daniels. He was throwing the ball to the ball boy staying next to him. The ball boy just so happened to not be looking. It's a drill where they do where it's 2 quarterbacks warm up and you get more wide receivers catching balls.
And you don't want a quarterback breaking a finger catching the ball.
Exactly. It's a drill as old as time in football, and I'm honestly kind of embarrassed that people even thought that was anything realistically happening.
I mean, when your quarterback's throwing 3 interceptions, the first reaction is we gotta change.
What's the backup doing?
We gotta change. What's the backup doing? I got a text from an offensive coordinator in the conference that was like, "Hey, I just turned on the game. What the hell is happening?" And my answer was, Carson's got multiple turnovers. The immediate response was, "What's the backup situation?" To which my answer was, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We don't hear about it. We know Gunner is the 2 on the depth chart, but we don't know.
I mean, like, do you, and this is a rhetorical question, I'm not asking you directly. If you genuinely thought that Kirby Smart really believed that there might be something there this season in Gunner Stockton or Jaden Rashada,
it would have already been. It would have already happened.
They would have already pulled the trigger on
happened.
it. It wouldn't take. You wouldn't be at this point of the season. So
what?
You need to listen to this headline that just got released by ESPN. Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says police altercations with fans at Georgia-Florida game were within policy.
Bro,
What?
they're handing out assaults in the section.
Within policy. That's in quotes.
That happened like 20 seats away from me.
Give me your point of view.
So-
Did you just hear the ruckus?
So yeah, obviously I'm
This
watching.
is better than what happened in Texas.
Yeah, that was sad.
That was sad.
That was scary.
Scary.
Not
to be talked about.
No, so I'm watching the game. Obviously, it's up in the 300 section, right in front of the scoreboard. So you're watching the game. The game's going on. And all of a sudden, the people to my left, everyone's standing up. It's in the middle of a TV timeout. Everyone's standing up and looking left, and I'm thinking, oh, someone's on the jumbotron. Someone's trying to get big. People keep looking left, and it's like, oh shit, what's going on? And you hear like commotion. I couldn't see what was going on, but you could very much see like scuffling and people kind of running around. I was like, I think there's a fight going on over there. So you start asking around. It's like, yeah, a cop just used his handcuffs as brass knuckles and beat the shit out of some guy.
So I've seen that one, and then there was one on the lower bowl too. That one that you're talking about was up in the bleeds with the common folk. And police officer whipped out the handcuffs after tasing man 3 times.
Yes. 3 times.
I don't know what he was drinking pregame, but
It was the right stuff.
That was the right stuff. My man took 3 tasers to the gut and was like just pulling wires off. And then at that point, I guess we're like, hey, by any means necessary, we're getting this guy down.
Guess so.
Even ripped dude's shirt.
You can't shoot him. So you got to do something to get him, obtained. So I guess the handcuffs were the only answer. Now, the lower bowl, there has been a new video released on that one. And it shows the beginning of the altercation because the first video that went viral from the lower bowl fight was just this police officer wailing on the top of this old dude's head, this bald guy, like 6 or 7 times, just hammer fisting him on the top of the head. And everybody's like, whoa, that's a little bit nuts. Turns out the guy that was wailing on old man didn't even start the altercation. They're trying to get this drunk Florida fan up out of the second row of this game. And he goes, I ain't going nowhere. And as soon as he says, I ain't going nowhere, you see this other police officer come out of nowhere and goes, oh, you ain't going nowhere. And immediately throws a right hook right across everybody, hits him right across the jaw. And then all hell breaks loose. Yeah. Within the policies, though.
That's what it says.
It's within the policies to use our handcuffs as brass knuckles.
That was in the quote.
I've never seen that before.
I know where retired UFC fighters are going to be applying for their police officers.
No kidding, dude. No kidding. They're like, it's our one time to show out, baby. It's time.
Apparently, this is known about Jacksonville police officers as well. That they don't be out here playing.
I've never seen videos like this though surface for this game. This is the first year where I've seen this happen.
I've seen fan fights.
Yeah,
I've never seen
fan fights.
Like this.
Yeah, I've never seen it. It's like, I'm going to sit here and watch the game and then just get your ass kicked.
I guess this is a good transition to your reaction on the weekend. This was your first Georgia-Florida football game. What were your immediate thoughts, Jay Will?
I got completely baptized in this entire weekend because we got to do some real South Georgia football, high school football on Friday night. That was a real good primer for what the weekend entailed. So that was great. That was a great experience, and we could talk about that more later. But as far as Jacksonville goes, I thought the experience was great. Tailgating scene was awesome. We did a little walkthrough through the RV park. Got to talk to some fans of the show, some Georgia fans as well. All good people that we got to meet up with this weekend. Great hospitality from every tailgate that we pulled up to. So I just love that. I thought the atmosphere was great. I guess my only complaint of the weekend was the press box. That was kind of my only thing. We got a small bag of chips to eat. That was about it for all the people up there. And like the tiny Frito bags. Like that's all we were given, and some bottles of water. Not complaining about the water. I hit those a few times. And then also just kind of thought it was section weird. But they gave us a cool little commemorative coin for the football game. Had the Georgia logo on one side and the Florida logo on the other. So I thought that was fantastic. I thought that the stadium environment was really cool. I've never been in a stadium where it's split right down the middle, half and half. So that was cool to watch as well. So overall, I thought it was a great experience, and I really enjoyed it.
Coming from someone who's gone the last 4 years, this was one of the best ones you could have gone to because there were so many momentum shifts in this game. I mean, it was a fourth quarter game too. So the fact that you were to experience it where it wasn't, well, the Florida fans are leaving halfway through the third quarter was actually really great. I'm glad you got to see that.
This is the first time I've covered that game on the field. I wish there was a way to make it louder, but there's never going to be because it's 50-50, and it's only loud for the team when they're making the momentum swing, so I understand that. I also had one of those classic, damn, I should have said insert joke when so-and-so was talking shit to me. You ever had one of these moments where somebody confronts you or someone gets on you?
I used to do that all the time in the shower after my parents yelled at me.
Yeah, yelled at a lot as a kid, huh?
Yeah. You were trying to beef it up with the parents.
I was beefing with the Rents, dude. I'm not going to lie.
So I'm on the goal line taking photos, and there is a Florida fan, a female, behind me, letting Billy Napier absolutely have it. I mean, just cussing everything that she can about Billy Napier's lack of coaching abilities. And it was right at the time when Billy Napier burned a timeout. And I know I shit on Florida fans for not being ball knowers, but your women are apparently, because she was out here giving Billy hell for wasting a timeout in the fourth quarter of a tight football game where he couldn't be afforded to waste timeouts. So she was giving him absolute hell. And to the point where, she's screaming at the top of her lungs right in my ear. I turn around and look at her, and she hits me with the hardest and meanest, "What the are you looking at?" And I turned around, I was like, I'm just eating the chips. And I was just like,
chips.
I'm just eating the chips. I'm not doing nothing. And as I walk away, I'm like, damn it. I should have told her, something along the lines of, if you don't want to be looked at, don't be making a scene. But I didn't. She won that one.
And then the Jacksonville police beat that woman up.
Within policy.
Within the policy.
Good God.
Yeah, she straight up cooked me.
It's okay. She probably doesn't remember that anyway.
No, but I do.
If I can picture the woman that you're describing, she was blackout drunk.
Yeah. She's coherent though. She's coherent. She was quick-witted, as obvious. But yeah, I like that football game a lot. I think the security guard at the end zone where the Georgia fans were, she was like, I think they're about to storm us. And I said, no. They come close because the student or the players are about to jump into the stands.
I love that. I think that's so cool.
That's such a good tradition.
Cool. It is a good tradition. I've never seen it from the Florida side. So, it's been a couple wins in a row
once in the last
for Georgia.
8 years.
What were your thoughts on that Valdosta football game? Ooh. By the way, if you haven't watched Friday Night's Mike, I
mean that's the best content we've done in a long time.
I think so, and I told you this on the ride home. It's what's like really disheartening about what we do. You can put your heart and soul into something, and you can think it's some of the best work that you've ever done, and then you put it up, and all that it either confirms or denies your work is views. And I hate that that's the way we are,
dude.
And I hate that's the way that it feels like. But it's the reality. We run a business. That's what we run here. We are a content business. And no matter how great we feel about the content, it only did 5,000 views.
I had fun doing it.
I think it should do 1 million. I think it should too. I think it's some of the funnest stuff we've done. I laughed harder doing that than I ever have. Not to mention, what an incredible display of what high school football looks like in South Georgia.
I mean, it had everything.
I mean, it's a love ballad to high school football is what that clip is.
I mean, the whole build up to the game too. Like, this is what I loved about it. This is what I love going to high school football games, but specifically this one. When I heard that there was going to be that they sold 15,000 tickets, how the stadium was constructed and everything, it's a big rivalry. I was almost more juiced for this one than I was for the game on Saturday, just because I had never seen or experienced anything like this on the high school. So like walking through the locker room at Lowndes, getting to see that totally different world, and then standing on the field, watching fans pour in, the light shows going and everything, the national, it was just incredible. How the game played out, like a kick return for a touchdown, had some big plays, a field goal, missed 2 of them. Like, everything about it was just electric.
Light show Johnny. I mean, just all kinds of great stuff going on in that Friday Night's Mike.
I am too.
In-house bet between you and I got $50, says Kirby hasn't watched it.
I haven't.
Oh, dude, you need to. And that was the other thing too. Of we had a long day of work. I drove all the way down there, did the content. Actually, had to write a breaking news article at halftime too, so didn't even get a halftime break. We were still grinding and working. Then afterwards, sitting in the truck, we're editing the video, and we're having the time of our life rewatching it, the whole thing, all the way over, all the footage we recorded, laughing at ourselves throughout this video. Like, I just thought it was great. I had a blast.
It was a good time.
It was.
Probably won't do another one. We'll see. All right. Should we give game balls away? Or do you want to talk about Billy Napier right quick?
We can do game balls first. I mean, I think that it's just a quick question of, did Billy Napier's job security go up or down after this game? Because you did play the number 2 team close. You did have them on the ropes at one point. You were winning that game. And the fact is, reality is, you've lost both of your starting quarterbacks. That's kind of somewhat of a mulligan. But it's also the outlook for the next 4 games. It's not great for you. So, I mean, the offense is going to be very stagnant. You're going to probably have a losing record again. There's a chance you're looking at 5-7, 4-8 once again. So, I mean, what do you think?
I think he's got 2 things going for him in the positive direction, as heavily positive as you possibly can have. And I think he's got 1 thing going negative for him that might get him fired. The 2 positives. 1, he's got arguably the most talented young quarterback in college football. And not only that, that quarterback loves him. Like, it seems very clear to me that DJ Lagway respects and likes and enjoys playing for Billy Napier. That's important. The other thing that he's got going for him, this team is very clearly fighting. They're playing hard every single week. You know how many guys I saw come out of Florida's locker room having gotten taped up or having something that was banged up that they had to go in and come back out? I saw number 28, the corner for Florida, come back into that 4th quarter football game with his entire left side hanging. I mean, if you asked him to scratch his nose with his left hand, he couldn't, but he was out there playing football. So, like, that kind of stuff makes me think, like, how can you go about firing this guy? And then you look at his 25 recruits list.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's why we can fire this guy. Because there is no There's no momentum. And if you don't have momentum, you don't have a job. You don't have a job anymore. And I just don't know. It's tough. I would probably, you almost say, just give him the length of Lagway.
Yeah.
Maybe just do that. So at least you know you have a ticket seller.
Okay, I'll ask you this
for the next 2 years.
Should he be fired? Your opinion, you're the AD of Florida. Do you fire Billy Napier at the end of the year?
No.
I wouldn't either.
Especially in that AD situation.
And that's not because I grew up a Georgia fan. Like, I think that he's a good coach. I don't think he deserves to be fired.
The only thing, though, that I would say is, while DJ Lagway is a major reason why maybe you should keep Billy Napier, he can't be the only bright spot on this roster. And like, as great as and impactful as DJ Lagway can be and will be in his career, he can't be the only thing that's solid about this roster. And that plays into this recruiting class. He'll have an opportunity to nab some guys out of the transfer portal if he's around and if DJ Lagway is still around. But like, while it's great that you have him, and again, he's going to be an impactful football player, he can't be the only thing that's impacting this roster.
It just seems like if you're going to be Florida and you want to fire Billy Napier, you're just going to you're putting yourself in an endless cycle of, we have a coach that starts from behind because our program's been what it is. He has to recruit his ass off, or try to at least. Doesn't win a lot of games because of where the team has been, and then come 3 or 4 years down the road, we go, we're not where we want to be. We got to fire and start over again and blow it up. Like, it's just, you can't keep doing this cycle. You have to ride it out with someone, and I think Billy Napier's a good guy to ride it out with.
If you were a Florida fan, would you take tomorrow? You wake up and I say your head coach is either Billy Napier or Lincoln Riley. Who do you take?
Billy Napier.
Billy Napier.
Y'all said that really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do it. Billy Napier, Eli Drinkwitz.
Billy Napier.
All right, so we have a toss-up there.
I faded on Lincoln Riley so quickly because that dude ran from this conference.
Yeah.
Why am I hiring a guy that clearly did not want to coach
That's
here?
a fact. That's fair. All right, so we pushed on Eli Drinkwitz. Let's go Lane Kiffin.
I would take Lane Kiffin. Taking Lane. I'm probably taking Billy, though, over Eli.
Yeah.
You guys faded on Eli Drinkwitz real quick.
Man,
well, it's not
I've been fading him.
That guy won 10 games at Missouri when Florida's only done that once in the last 10 years.
Yeah, but I mean, it was
Fair.
also like, we also were like, hey, let's see
in a COVID year at that.
Ooh, double fair.
I'm just saying, you can do worse than Eli Drinkwitz, and I think you've done worse than Eli Drinkwitz.
Absolutely, but I think
maybe
Billy
I do
Napier's
switch
fine.
my answer then. Maybe I do.
It's a discussion to have, because if Florida fires Billy Napier, are they getting first in line?
Sure.
Unless USC becomes available.
No, they're still first in line.
You still think they're first in line?
Yeah.
What job would have to come open to where Florida's not first in line for job opportunities for whoever wants to be the next head coach? I forgot Signetti in this mix too. But if he signs Julian Lewis, that some bitch ain't going nowhere.
He ain't going nowhere.
That some bitch ain't going nowhere. It's a tough spot to be in if you're a Florida football fan, even though I think it's become a tougher decision for you, which is good news.
Yeah.
Your football coach is actually doing something. Let's move on to game balls, shall we, boys?
Let's do it.
Offensive game balls, I'm giving mine to Dominic Lovett. I think his ability to make guys miss, extend drives via the quick screen game, had a touchdown on a screen this weekend as well. His yards after catch Saturday were a major reason they were able to consistently move the football despite the quarterback struggles.
I think it's safe to say, and we kind of predicted this coming into the season, he's your best yak receiver.
Yeah.
He might not be your best separation receiver. He might not be the most consistent with hands this year, but he's the yak guy. Like, if you need someone in space, with the exception of Trevor Etienne, he's probably the guy you're going to go to. I gave it to Nate Frazier. Trevor Etienne goes down in this game. You're a true freshman. You come out, you get 18 touches, score a really, really pivotal touchdown, get a questionable flag, questionable decision at least. But honestly, it's one of those things that's going to live forever in the Georgia-Florida rivalry, so I don't hate it that much. I get the 15-yard penalties, dumb, and have some discipline, but
Jared Wilson's reaction on that play is hysterical.
yes.
As soon as he sees the flag fly, he drops his head and puts his hands on his knees. He's like, "You're about to get the ass chewing of your
can't
life,
do that." He's
bro.
like, "Go on, bro.
Yeah,
Everybody's got to do it."
Go to dad.
But again, in that moment, I think we saw leadership that we've kind of been yearning for in the first half of the season. So there's a silver lining there. But Nate Frazier's my offensive game ball.
I give mine to Cass Jones.
Hell yeah, show me the money.
Man, that touchdown play that he had, Kirby talked about it. He talked about how it's a difficult throw. It's a more difficult throw than what someone may perceive. But the play, and it was great watching this when we were looking back on the photos that you took of the game.
Yeah.
And watching him break the first tackle, his 2 feet are behind him on his tiptoes. And the next play, in the next picture, in the next frame of Cass Jones, is his front leg sticking forward, him gaining balance again, going to the end zone, breaking 2 more tackles, and then lunging across the plane. Like, it was one of the greatest plays that I have seen from a Georgia running back of, this dude will not be denied the end zone. It was just a fantastic play, and I thought that he deserved a game ball just for that. You go pull up the photos of this?
I'm trying to pull the photo of it because, like you're saying, man, it's one of the crazier feats of athleticism that I've seen through my camera lens in quite a while, because 99.9% of guys are tackled on this play, and somehow he managed to get his feet back up underneath him and managed to go on and score on the play. Here it is right here.
The only one I think that is crazy is the Zamir White touchdown against Arkansas.
Yeah.
I still don't know how his knee didn't hit the ground.
Oh, yeah.
You remember what I'm talking about?
So this is the first clip of
doing the hee-hee.
Shamar James, doing the hee-hee. Both of his feet are behind his body. All right, the fact that his knee does not touch the ground and somehow he immediately gets the next leg up into a knee drive within the very next photo. Guys, I want you to tell just how little of a movement the difference is between where Shamar James is in this clip and where he was in the previous clip, because you can tell just how quickly that leg drive occurred, okay? So here is the clip as he gets his feet back up underneath him. All right, look. Shamar moved very little, if at all. I think Shamar's body moved maybe a total of 6 inches in those 2 clips. And somehow Cass Jones got his leg back up underneath him. Those right there are power cleans. It's everything like that. But really, I think it's quad strength. The quick twitch muscle fibers in his quads to pull his knee back up underneath him. Insane. Not to mention, he meets 2 Florida defenders at the 3-yard line, 4-yard line, and totes their asses into the end zone. Yeah, I think it was the 5, maybe the 4.5, but just an insane play by Cass Jones right there. Also, they had been setting that one up all football game.
Oh, my gosh.
All football game. They were seeing how Florida was responding to that type of motion. Florida, to their credit, changed up their game plan middle of that football game from what I watched. They played a lot of zone to start the game and then all of a sudden moved into more of a 2-man approach. That's a man beater on the goal line right there, called at the perfect time. And whip that ass for a touchdown.
Again,
so
Mike
great
Bobo,
play call.
Mike Bobo masterclass.
Mike Bobo masterclass. Defensive game ball. I'm giving it to none other than one Chaz Chambliss.
Oh, baby.
Just to the haters.
You want to talk about some more good photos that were fun? They gave me a laugh is watching the frames of Chaz grab the quarterback's shirt, watching it tear progressively, and then the next one being hit the quarterback on the ground.
Yeah.
Chaz would not be denied on that one.
Yeah, no, Chaz was flying around this game. I gave it to C.J. Allen. We talked about it earlier. He played his best game of the season, probably ever. So C.J. Allen gets a defensive game ball.
I'm giving mine to Dan Jackson. And a lot of people are probably like, well, he only played 1 half. Why are we giving the game ball to Dan Jackson? And I'm solely giving the game ball to Dan Jackson for a play that really didn't even end up counting. But I watched it happen in the box, and I just thought, like, that's Dan Jackson right there. Like, that's why this guy is starting for Georgia's defense. And it happened in the second half of the game. And Florida throws a little screen pass out to the right side of the field, and it's dropped, but it's treated as a live fumble that was thrown behind the quarterback. It's a backwards pass, and Dan Jackson is the first player to the football, but instead of going for the football, he tackles the Florida wide receiver so that Damon Wilson can try and pick up the football and take it in for a touchdown. I just thought it was a selfish play, a very aware play as well for Dan in that moment to see the football, not think to go get the football, but go tackle the Florida wide receiver to make sure he doesn't get the ball and that they have a chance to instead jump on the football, maybe even take it in for 6. I thought it was a great play. And one of those plays, again, it's not going to go in the box score or anything like that, but it goes on my highlight reel for Dan Jackson.
There's been many moments on this network where I'm like really proud of what we do. And obviously really proud of you guys, but watching you have that football like moment and you bring it up to me post game, I was like, holy shit, guys watching the game like he's supposed to be watching up in that box. It's not like everybody else, all right? Everybody else up there doing what they do, all right? But when you work for us, you should see the game differently. And I appreciate that you did that, because I didn't see that. I didn't see that happen, and you did. So congratulations on what I would recognize as your first like platinum certified ball knower card. You got it. All right, so from now on, I'm no longer going to go, hey, Kirby, you're my football guy. What do you think about this? Because we've been doing that on this network. Every time I got a football question that I want to bounce off somebody, it goes straight to my man that played linebacker at 175 pounds. So from now on, we might be throwing that one to the room.
Ooh. All right, bring it on.
Or my spot.
I love that, man. That was awesome by you.
But plays like that are the quintessential Dan Jackson plays, where it's like, it's not going to show up on the stat sheet. He's going to do everything right. And, oh, by the way, he's being selfless. I mean, everyone talks about the 2021 Natty play where he gets blown up but secures a touchdown for Keely Ringo. That's just who he is. He's been a Georgia guy through and through.
Damn good dog.
Damn good dog.
All right, coaching award. I think we're unanimous here.
Yeah.
I think we're unanimous. We're giving the game ball to Mike Bobo.
Mike Bobo, indeed.
Mike Bobo,
he deserves it. Actually, I take that back. I gave mine to someone else because I think that this guy deserved a shout. Josh Crawford, he gets a game ball from me. Having your entire running back room ready for not only this game, but this entire season, when your guys have been called upon, all of them have made plays this year. The fact that your true freshman was ready in this type of moment to carry the load on offense at running back and do it relatively well and look impressive, I think that deserves a game ball. And also, your other true freshman, Dwight Phillips, he gets installed in a package for a big score to go up multiple scores and put the game to rest. Like, you deserve a game ball, Josh Crawford.
Very rarely do I hear in pregame. I always talk to guys about what their plan is and what they're going to do, what they think about, and they're bouncing ideas off me too, because they know I'm watching very hard and preparing for the opponents as well, and preparing you guys, and I know what I'm looking at, and they're bouncing ideas pregame. It's what I do for the first hour and a half I'm out there. Yeah, I'm taking pregame photos, but I'm really digging and trying to find out, did I see it the way you saw it? How did y'all see it? What's going on? What are you preparing for? And not all the time. The last one I remember is TCU coming into that football game thinking that, all right, they have a plan, and then watching them execute that plan to the tune of 65 points. But Saturday's plan was so clear offensively, they knew what they were going to do, and they go out and execute it despite the 3 turnovers. So, yeah, tremendous job all around by everyone in that offensive coordinating room, because when you remember, because you were there, and I'm sure everybody else listening to it, it wasn't Mike put that play in for Dwight. It wasn't Mike came to me on Monday and said, hey, it was the offensive staff came to me and said, is this guy going to travel? And then they went upon making a game plan for that. So, yeah, that is coaching right there to a T. I thought that was a tremendous job. What are you guys' thoughts on this this Ole Miss matchup coming up this week? I know we obviously have a lot of time to preview this one.
It's going to be one of those. You're at the point now this season.
Doesn't make your tummy feel any better. They put up 63 points and 515 yards of passing.
No.
Honestly, no. But the main worry is, and this will be what it is for the rest of the season, is what version of the Georgia offense are you going to get? Because we've seen the highs of a Georgia offense where they can score on anyone, they can dunk on anyone, they have enough talent everywhere to score on you. But we've also seen the execution issues, whether it's the wide receivers, whether it's your tackle positions, whether it's your offensive line, whether it's your quarterback making bad decisions. Is the mistakes that your team at this point is inevitably going to make on offense going to cost you a game? The fact that it's on the road against a top 25 opponent that's still in the playoff hunt, let's be fair, doesn't make you feel great, but you have to trust that the coaching staff and the talent is going to prevail in here.
I think the biggest thing about this year's Ole Miss team is, like, even last year, Ole Miss had a great offense, but it's still a Lane Kiffin defense, though. Yeah. Like, you still felt like you were going to put up a lot of points on them. They've definitely gotten better on defense this year, and they're still really good on offense. So I think that you still like the matchup of your defense going up against a really good offense, as you've continued to prove over the years that you can match up with really good offenses. But yeah, to Kirby's point, it's going to determine is your offense also going to show up with the defense, because this Ole Miss defense is also coming to play every single Saturday.
All right, so here's what we got in terms of a content plan and strategy this week for you guys here on the network. We are going to take the offensive breakdown for Saturday's game, and we're going to put that on Patreon only. We'll probably do a defensive film review over there as well. So patreon.com/Brooks Austin is the place to get that. We'll do most of our Georgia stuff in terms of review from Saturday's game over there starting tomorrow morning. We are also going to prepare you guys for this Ole Miss offense because I know you guys are looking forward to seeing what they have that makes them so explosive. So we'll probably give you that, definitely give you that on a public standpoint this week here on the network. I don't know about any other film studies. We might have to have those maybe by request. So I know there's been some interest in some other offenses around the sport, particularly like Miami. We might get into those, but you guys know we try to hammer this SEC base with those film studies, okay? If you haven't watched Friday Night Mike, go do it. If you haven't watched our Man on the Street stuff and our Georgia versus Florida highlights, go do that. And we will see you tomorrow for film study. If you haven't watched Carson Beck's interception film breakdown, you definitely need to watch that, even though at this point, I think that's already over 12,000 views. So a lot of you guys have already watched that. But I appreciate you guys for being here, and I certainly appreciate you for showing love to all the work that we have created and done on this network. It has not been easy. It's been quite a grind this year for us, but, you know, it's results, right? We're getting the results that we want. So we appreciate you guys for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you miss any portion of tonight's broadcast. It is made available on podcast. We'll see